On your home of the Gamecocks.
I don't know. I'm just like everything's going wrong, and I don't know what to do. I don't know, but I might go back to bed.
107.5 The Game.
.603 on a Wednesday morning, April the 20th. Welcome in, Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, a injured Jen Jensen in the studio. We got to find out what exactly Jen did to herself last night. That's going to be the segment where I walk off because she started to explain it to me in the studio when I walked in, and I don't handle injuries or blood or whatever you were starting to explain. I actually ran back out of the studio when she started to explain it. But Jen's playing injured this morning. Patrick Perrette, though, is back in studio, and I'm celebrating or kind of celebrating the birthday. I'm here with y'all and not at the house this morning, but celebrating the birthday of my now 10-year-old son. Austin turns 10 today.
Happy birthday, Austin.
He's not listening to us at 6:04. We have to redo that at about 6:50, I believe, is when he goes to school or when he'll be in the car. So we'll have to redo that.
Maybe he's up early playing video games.
He might be. He's jumped on the live stream with us a couple times early in the morning. You can do that if you want this morning. Hop on the Buford Lending live stream. Be a part of the program. DC is up as he is each and every morning. The first one in saying morning, guys. You can be a part of that. Go to youtube.com, search, click, subscribe to the 107.5 The Game YouTube page. It is the early game Wednesday morning edition. You can check out myself and Patrick. Jen will be along on the live stream shortly as she does each and every morning. You can also join us this morning, 803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program via the text line or just calling in and weighing in with your opinion. Kind of a quiet night last night across the board. There was a welcome home from Shane Beamer, but quite frankly, and this isn't anything against Shane Beamer, and I'm not trying to tell anybody how to do it one way or the other, but the welcome homes have lost their luster when the kids don't announce.
It didn't even faze me.
Yeah, didn't faze you? Didn't even care to search? Yeah, I hate to say it. So South Carolina may not have gotten a commitment yesterday in football post spring game, but that would now make 3 welcome homes that are out there.
Also, this new hashtag,
above all else 23, or
it's above all L23. The 2 and the 3 are supposed to be an SE for else.
Backwards, yeah. Well, the 3 would be backwards.
A stretch.
Okay.
I guess now that there's been a commitment, there's no going back on this hashtag. I don't like it at all.
Okay, so there's that. Patrick doesn't like the hashtag for above all else 23.
Is there like a picture? Did they throw out a graphic from Gamecock football or anything saying this is our new hashtag? Because I'm not gonna like it.
Okay, well,
I'm not gonna retweet any above all else's.
Okay, there's
That's gonna be my protest.
So Patrick is back in studio this morning after a family trip to Maryland for some Easter stuff. We'll get into some NFL. Kind of yesterday, a lot of voluntary, and by voluntary I mean I loved how the Deebo Samuel thing was worded, Patrick, because I'd never really looked into a contract like that, and I'll get your opinion this morning of something that I discussed yesterday with the 3 wide receivers opting to sit out of voluntary workouts. And the Deebo Samuel portion of it had to do with you get a bonus for going. You don't get fined.
Yeah.
There's bonuses worked in, and Deebo Samuel's was $50,000 for attending the voluntary workouts, and he elects to skip, or he's going to skip his voluntary workouts, which began yesterday. A.J. Brown and
Terry
McLaurin, the wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. I brought this up yesterday. I know little to nothing about Terry McLaurin, but A.J. Brown, I know, is a very good wide receiver, is seeking a deal. It is kind of an interesting, I think, next 6 weeks, maybe go a little bit longer. You go into July, or you go into the end of June, you go into July, when you've got guys like DK Metcalf. You do have Deebo Samuel out there. You've got A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, and McLaurin all in the end of their rookie contracts and looking for extensions. DK Metcalf is on an organization that's kind of now looking to blow everything up and start over. But we'll start with that where I went yesterday. Your thoughts on Deebo Samuel sitting it out? And again, you've said many times that you think $20 million is the max, but I'm not sure that's what he's going to get.
Yeah, but it's beyond that now. It's not just him sitting out. He apparently does not want to sign with the 49ers. Adam Schefter had the quote. I'll read the quote. He said, "This, I think, right now is Deebo Samuel not wanting to get a deal done. It's not San Francisco not willing to do the deal. The 49ers are ready. Deebo Samuel is the one who's put a halt to everything right now." So apparently he doesn't want to sign the deal. Apparently the 49ers are ready. Bobby Thompson, who is, I'm guessing, a Bay Area reporter. No, he's actually a Bucks reporter, but he says Deebo Samuel's made his stance known. He's frustrated with the 49ers, and it seems he wants to play elsewhere. Keep an eye out for this. The draft is 9 days away. Teams have already shown an interest in trading for him. So I don't know what this is. I know the Terry McLaurin situation because he's a commander. He is going to get a deal done. Like they've opened up space for him. He has been phenomenal. His numbers have been really solid for having terrible quarterback play, and the prevailing thought for Washington fans is that he gets a real quarterback, he's going to absolutely blow up. He's been awesome from day one. He was the team captain last year. He's an incredible leader, incredible person. Like everyone absolutely loves him. He embodies everything you want to build a team around. I'm confident that deal is going to get done. He's not holding out. He's going to camp because he wants to show his leadership. He's just not going to participate in some of the drills because his agent has advised him not to. So I think AJ Brown's in the same situation, but Deebo's is totally different. Like I don't know where this resentment for San Francisco came from. There hasn't even been a chance for them to disrespect him at all. He unfollowed them, and because they didn't come to the table with a $30 million a year offer from day one. Is that what the holdup is? Because I don't think this reflects well on Deebo at all. I thought the unfollowing them on everything early during free agency was immature, and if he's holding a grudge against them for some reason, either something substantial happened behind the scenes that I wouldn't know about or that none of us would know about, but it didn't reflect itself in playing time because Brandon Ayuk, the other receiver from Arizona State, was drafted the year after Deebo. He got benched for large portions of the season for apparently not being a willing blocker and just kind of not buying into all the other things. Ended up getting back on the field at the end of the year, but Deebo's playing time has never suffered and actually only increased as the season went along. So I don't know what this is, but apparently people are going to be calling about Deebo. Like there's rumors about the Packers and teams like this that are needy for receivers, but it looks like Deebo could end up getting traded within the next week.
It'll be interesting to see. That's why we kind of lead with it this morning, is because it's
Deebo might be a diva.
Look, he was at the spring game on Saturday night, and certainly from that standpoint, you're glad that from a South Carolina standpoint, whether he's a diva or not, he's back. Kind of giving you some.
It's good for South Carolina anyway. I mean, if he's going to get his money, any kid's going to look at that and say, "Hey, good for him." Like a young wide receiver is going to say, "Yeah, that's awesome. Deebo's now the highest paid receiver in the league, or close to it. Deebo's getting $25 million a year." But the casual fan and certainly the 49ers fan are just have to be looking at this like, what's the problem, bro? Like, we love you, we support you, we want to keep you. The organization wants to pay you. Why are you being like this?
The question again is, what does the organization want to pay him? What is the? Because that's what we haven't seen reported, right?
We haven't seen an offer. I don't know. I haven't seen any report that he turned down an offer.
Being ready to pay and offering significant money are two entirely different things. They might be ready to pay $18 million a year, or I think the number you've thrown out that seems fair is $20 million. It sounds like Deebo might be in the more of the $30 million a year mindset.
Well, Tyreek Hill is at 30. That's number one, and Devontae Adams at 29. So.
Yeah, you look at it again, Stephon Diggs signed a really good deal. Christian Kirk with the Jags signed a great deal. Mike Williams with the Chargers and Chris Godwin with the Buccaneers are the four that really kind of stand out below Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. But that's where things stand kind of with the NFL. Now, the other news yesterday, on the flip side of all this, you got Deebo and you got what's going on with he and re-signing, and is he there? Is he not there? Cooper Kupp, Patrick, basically comes out and just said, I just kind of want to sign a deal that's fair for me, fair for the Rams, and just not really deal with a whole bunch of this.
I mean, that I guess he's just happy. I mean, he wants to play with Matt Stafford. That did wonders for him. I mean, his numbers were ridiculous. He had one of the greatest receiving seasons of all time. So he also knows that the Rams have a lot of money committed to a lot of players. It is just probably a case of, I don't want to be too greedy to the point where they kick me out of town. And I love LA. I'm sure it's awesome being a rich guy in Los Angeles playing for the Super Bowl champions and a contender every single year, playing for a a boy genius coach who knows how to scheme up targets for him and Matt Stafford. Clearly, they have an incredible relationship. So, I mean, Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford can play 5, 6, I don't know how many more years. So if Cooper Kupp could probably finish his career with Matt Stafford, he's probably willing to sacrifice a million or $2 a year to make sure that that stays. And not a lot of guys do that. I mean, most guys take the top dollar, whether it's because obviously you want to not leave any money on the table or because they feel like as the top receiver, I owe it to the rest of the league to continue raising the bar. But I think this is a pretty relatable mindset of, hey, things are going really well. I live in LA. It's 75 and sunny every day. We're the defending champions. We're going to contend every year. I don't want to get shipped off to Buffalo or somewhere where it's really cold all the time.
That was kind of the NFL news as it pertains to yesterday, as certainly very, very interesting. And again, you have Cooper Kupp saying one thing, and then you obviously have Deebo Samuel doing an entirely different thing. So if you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100. Yeah, the other NFL news, Patrick, yesterday, and just kind of interesting to get into this, is Ron from Lake Marion weighs in. The Panthers bailing on the new football facility in Rock Hill and seeing what happens with the Panthers. And I think I kind of lean toward, or had been leaning toward, David Tepper is a pretty good owner, and
initially it seemed like that,
and that he's going to do what it takes to get the organization right. And I don't know if I necessarily blame him for what's going on, and that's more of a political thing with money and everything that's going on.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, like, you start to look at the Panthers now and how that organization is playing out. David Tepper's got a ton of money, and yet it seems that the what is it? What do you want to call it? The football IQ, the business acumen of running an organization seems to be lacking right now with where that organization is.
I don't fully understand it on just kind of a bureaucratic level, but it seems like Rock Hill kind of backed off their pledge to, I guess, pay for a large portion of this practice facility. And it's hard to completely take a side because you kind of do understand not wanting to pay more, but it's also hard for a Panthers fan to look at a guy who's worth $16.7 billion and be like, dude, just pay for the facility, just build it. Especially it's already under construction. And what's going to happen with that building now? Like, it's half built, not even half built. Are they going to finish it?
Did you see? Yeah, no, the funny memes. Jen, you would probably like those. Did you see the funny memes yesterday?
The Spirit Halloween.
The Spirit Halloween, and one was the best Dollar General that's ever been built. And
I mean, but how much work needs to be done to make that a functional building just for anything? Or is it just always going to sit there and be a symbol of what almost was? I mean, this was supposed to be one of the best facilities in the NFL. Like, that was the thing. Tepper was coming in and saying, I'm the richest owner in the NFL. I have a different type of money than all these guys. I'm going to build an incredible facility. It's going to be a tourist attraction. There's going to be a shopping center. There's going to be all these things. It was going to be like the Star in Dallas, which if anyone hasn't seen the Star, you should look that up. It's a jaw-dropping facility, and that's what the Panthers were going to have. So now, I don't know where's it going to be now. In Charlotte, there's going to build a different one in Charlotte.
I tend to think, I was listening to Jay Phillips and Terry yesterday talk about this as it pertained to what may happen next, and I think the time frame is so pushed out on what you want to do. Like, if you're the Panthers, I mean, you're essentially starting over, and you're starting over leaving a half-built building. I don't know where they are in terms of percentage, 30% done, 50%
well, I guess
done.
the core practice facility, but that was supposed to be the centerpiece of this entire new, I guess, community almost. Like, it was going to be a big deal. So I don't even know. That was just, they half finished one small aspect of the planned dozen buildings, whatever it was going to be.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that that you can kind of get to and kind of break down with that. But I guess the point on that is now you start completely over by having to find a new practice facility home. However you're going to do that. I saw a couple people yesterday. I feel like people didn't completely understand the concept of the practice facility and what you're trying to do, because a couple people were like, "Oh, Columbia We got some
Throw it on Shop Road.
we got some property down here. We just throw it, get the Panthers down here. I was like, well, it doesn't. You don't practice an hour and a half away from your. I mean, I guess the Redskins did forever. The football team, the now Commanders. But the bottom line is, huh?
As I say, in Illinois for the Bears, in around my hometown, there's a little town called Bourbonnais, Illinois, and they used to go to Olivet Nazarene University, and that was their practice facility for, my gosh, 15 years or something until they finally like built their own. But it was a huge tourist thing, a lot of money for the area and stuff like that. And that's about an hour south. So that, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's not out of the realm, but I mean, you've got a facility that's going up, and again, it goes deeper than sports, and it goes deeper than, well, this is just a bad decision for Tepper or whatever, because there's some politics at play, and obviously a lot of money at play, and there's a lot more pieces to that puzzle and that story than just saying, oh, this is a bad decision by David Tepper, or oh, this is Rock Hill and York County not coming through with the money. There's a lot involved here that I can't say I completely, as much reading as I tried to do on it, I can't completely understand when you start talking about the purchasing or the buying of bonds or the selling of bonds and trying to raise the money and everything that goes along with trying to build a facility of this magnitude. And then what David Tepper wants to do. And I heard Terry Ford yesterday, again, sitting in the school pickup line, waiting to get Austin out of school, but sitting there and Terry was talking about, the next step for the Panthers is building a brand new football stadium somewhere that will be designed to bring Charlotte a Super Bowl. I mean, that's the next thing for David Tepper and this organization, and that this is just a trial run of, okay, how are we going to get things built around here to build this organization up? And obviously at this point it's not going well.
Well, and that always is the case. It's probably more for stadiums than the practice facility, but like the Bills just announced their new stadium plan. They're getting $850 million of taxpayer money to build that stadium. So it's getting, I assume, almost half of that stadium is going to be paid for by taxpayers. Washington, their stadium lease ends in 2027, and they want to build a new stadium. And there's a bunch of different hurdles. A lot of the fans want it to be in D.C., but that's federal land, and a lot of congressmen don't want to ask their constituents 1,000 miles away to pay for the Washington Stadium, and also they don't want to be friends with Dan Snyder. So he's looking at locations that are over an hour from DC because these counties in the outskirts of Virginia are willing to give them a lot of money, and that's just kind of how it goes. Like maybe the Panthers do end up going to a really non-ideal location that is way further than Charlotte than they wanted to be, just because they can get a sweetheart deal, which would annoy fans because, again, he's worth $16.7 billion. He is the richest owner in football. A lot of these owners don't have that much money. Like, all of their net worth is attached to the football team. That's not the case with David Tepper. He came in one of the richest men in America. Like, none of this would be an issue for him.
Will weighs in. Excuse me. Will weighs in on the text line. Says, if y'all forgot, they practiced in Spartanburg forever. Well, they did training camp. It's total difference.
The Cowboys do training camp in Irvine, California.
Yeah,
training camp's a different game.
Total difference whether you do training camp and where you're actually during the season doing your training. And that's what this new facility was going to be in Rock Hill up there. I think it might be, correct me if I'm wrong, right on the border of Indian land.
It was going to be everything. I mean, it was going to be modeled after the Star in Dallas, which is where they played like the high school state championships. There's a mall there, and fans can come in and do whatever. Like there's offices, corporate offices overlooking the practice facility where you can run your company out of there, and it makes a ton of money, and that was going to be the plan.
Yeah, so there was a little bit different than just I keep wanting to say spring training, but the fall camp that the Panthers have done at Wofford for a long time and did it in Spartanburg and then moved the operation to Charlotte. So we'll see what happens. There was a little bit more yesterday from the Panthers as it pertains to actual on-the-field information, Patrick. Ben McAdoo, the new offensive coordinator there yesterday, oh boy, he declares Sam Darnold the starter. Nothing like declaring the starter of your starting quarterback for your football team mid-April when you've still got a draft, maybe a trade or two you can find. But yeah, new Carolina Panthers offensive coordinator Ben McAdoo emphatically said yes when asked whether Sam Darnold was his starting quarterback, and added that the third pick of the 2018 draft was one reason he took the job.
That has to be the most uninspiring thing a Panthers fan could have ever heard. I mean, forget the fact that he was forced to backtrack on that, but if you look at a football coach and he says, that's the reason I took this job, you don't have much confidence in that person's knowledge of the game. I mean, he's bad. He was really bad
I,
last
I
year.
also was confused by he added that the third pick of the 2018 draft was, I guess that was the reason he took the Sam Darnold was
Yeah,
the
Sam
because
Darnold was the reason Ben McAdoo took the job, which has to make you say, what are you talking about?
he wants to work.
What do you
He
mean?
wants to work with someone who's already broken.
This isn't saying I took the Chargers job because I want to work with Justin Herbert. No. What are you talking about? Ben McAdoo is the guy that's gonna change the course of Sam Darnold's career. All right. Good luck.
803-404-6100. We will get into some college football discussion next. Brad Crawford joining us as we will get his take on South Carolina's spring game as well as spring games across the country. If he has seen anything that changes his opinion of the 2022 season, that's kind of where we're at now as we kind of start to really put the final touches, the final bow on South Carolina spring game and move completely ahead. So we'll get Brad Crawford's opinion on what he saw this past weekend. We'll kind of wrap that up ourselves today. South Carolina baseball tonight up in Rock Hill. Speaking of Rock Hill, South Carolina baseball will be up there taking on Winthrop. They will play that game, and then they will head to Auburn for the first of a 3-game series starting Friday this week. That game will be 7 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central time. You'll be able to catch that on the SEC network tonight, 6 p.m. first pitch. The game will be televised or streamed on ESPN Plus. So some baseball as well, but we'll get into some spring football when we come back. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's coming up on the next Extra Point.
Hey guys, Pearson Fowler here from the Extra Point, and coming up on the Wednesday Extra Point, plenty more Carolina football, more residual thoughts from the spring game, and a big picture look at what exactly it means, especially with now several Gamecock players putting their name in the transfer portal. We will talk to Chris Clark about what that means and what Carolina might look to do in terms of bringing some transfers in to replace those bodies. That, plus the Panthers' plans to move to Rock Hill going south. How did that happen, and what does it mean? Some more on the NBA playoffs and a whole lot more. The Extra Point, 9 o'clock.
The Extra Point with Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central. 9 a.m. to noon on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
Now is the time to do a lot of things, but now is the time to make sure your pool is clean. It's a little chilly this morning, but this afternoon it's going to feel great. And if you're like my son, Austin, it's his 10th birthday. He's probably ready to go jump in a pool and celebrate. You're going to be ready to jump in your pool and celebrate summer or a great barbecue or maybe a great sporting event. But if that pool is dirty, if it's not ready to be used, it's going to be a pretty big disappointment. That's why you need to call Corley Pool Solutions. Tracy Corley and his team have been maintaining pools for over 20 years, and they are the absolute best in the industry. And right now, Corley Pool Solutions is offering leak detection. Have you noticed your pool is dropping maybe a half inch, an inch of water per day, and you're a little confused on where it's going? Corley Pool Solutions is able to provide leak detection. You can have them out. They are a certified leak protection specialist. Give Corley Pool Solutions a call today, 803-445-8109. Tracy Corley and his team stand by their work. That's why they offer no contracts, weekly cleaning, and flat rate pricing, including all of the chemicals. That's right. It's more affordable to use Corley Pool Solutions than it is to go to the actual pool store, speak with the representative, guess and ballpark what exactly you need, and then come back and try and do it yourself. Just turn straight to the professionals to maintain your pool this summer. Again, a weekly visit from Tracy Corley and his team will keep that pool sparkling and ready to practice those cannonballs into. 803-445-8109. Again, that's 803-445-8109. Whether it is the leak detection that Corley Pool Solutions now offers, whether it is flat rate pricing, whatever you may be needing with pool maintenance, Corley Pool Solutions has got you covered. 803-445-8109. That's Corley Pool Solutions.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center. Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
Just one accident to let you know about, and that's I-20 eastbound, somewhere near Clemson Road. A little bit slow there. Again, that's I-20 eastbound around Clemson Road. An accident there. And your forecast for today, yes, we definitely do have a chilly start, but looking for a high of 71. Then it starts warming up for the rest of the week. 77 tomorrow, 83 on Friday. But right now, you don't need that jacket. It's 44 at 107.5 The Game.
This is Boomer Science with the CBS Sports Minute, updating yesterday's Debo wide receiver bonanza story about Debo Samuel, A.J. Brown, and Terry McLaurin. Well, now you can add Cooper Kupp to the list of marquee wideouts unhappy at seeing the market explode around them. The Rams Super Bowl MVP claims he doesn't want to reset the market. Instead, he simply wants to be in a position that's fair. And I think that's fair. I'm Boomer Science.
CBS Sports Radio.
These days, it's getting harder and harder.
Like the present. Credit shot, don't be hot this coming summer. AAA guarantees financing on a new system. All you got to do is give a call. 677-1500. That's 677-1500. AAA Heating and Air's got you covered. A 15-year parts and labor warranty that is transferable. They're going to take great care of you like they've been taking care of people around here for a long time. Boy, they and AAA Heating and Air are looking out for you. All you got to do is give a call. In that number, 677-1500. 677-1500. It's AAA Heating and Air. 677-1500. Give a call.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by, shop online today, and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Outspoken Bicycles invites you to spring clean and earn instant store credit. It's Columbia Bicycle Trade-In Days at Outspoken Bicycles. Coming to the Divine Street location of Outspoken.
I mean, this kid's enormous. We're watching the Florida spring game, and there's a kid named Desmond Watson for them who's 6'5", 415. So I just pulled up his 24/7 profile, and part of it says, eats blocks is effective against double teams, will, however, need to drop some bad weight and lean out in college, which should happen once he's working with a strength coach. Well, apparently he's added 35 pounds. He went from 380 to 415. Freshman 35, yeah. You probably have another tab open. Yeah, because I'm not hearing it.
There's some intense music there on ESPN this morning. Pardon me. Debo with the Cowboys, huh? Oh, boy. .33 on a Wednesday morning, April the 20th. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen. We're all back together here as we get going on a beautiful, what should be a fantastic Wednesday afternoon here in the Midlands. Again, I am getting to celebrate a little bit with my buddy, my son, Austin. He turns 10 today. So we are kind of cutting up with him as he hits double digits and heads off to school to enjoy the birthday festivities.
He driving himself this morning?
He may. I think, doesn't it? Isn't it 10 when they start driving themselves to school?
I
Picking up.
forgot.
Yeah,
It's about 10, I think.
At least let him drive like a lawnmower or something. Tractor.
He is already a better driver than the 12-year-old. The 12-year-old daughter, who is, we got some work to do there. Thankfully, we've got time, but we've got some work to do with her. I need to get a golf cart to just and some bumper pads for like the other cars around the neighborhood or brick walls or things. So a lot there. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in this morning. Let's get out to those Love Chevy phone lines. A man who knows a thing or two about driving cars, I'm sure, but more importantly about college football. Brad Crawford of 24/7 Sports joining us this morning. Brad, happy Wednesday morning to you. Hope you're doing well.
Happy birthday to Austin, man. We are dealing with two sick little girls in the Crawford house, so not a great night.
Oh, all right. Well, we won't keep you too long then, because I know that means you're ready to get them some sleep and get yourself back to bed. But let's talk some college football and big picture. Big picture here is we now start to wrap up all of the college football across the country. 2, 3, 4 things that you've seen, not just from South Carolina, but across the board that maybe caught your attention this spring. I don't know if it changes your mindset going into August in 2022 football season or if it doesn't, but what do you take out of the spring football season in college football?
Yeah, just kind of from a wide scale view, I think Texas has done some things in the transfer portal that I wasn't expecting, getting Ajay Hall from Alabama yesterday and then picking up Jalil Billingsley, a hybrid type playmaker out of Alabama a couple months ago. I mean, Steve Sarkisian has really improved that roster. We know he signed Quinn Ewers, top quarterback available in the portal from Ohio State. So I think Texas should be pretty good this year. Watching Alabama spring game Saturday, the Crimson Tide's offensive line still doesn't look very good. Last season at times struggled, and then Saturday afternoon, Bryce Young, the reigning Heisman winner, was sacked 8 times over 3 quarters. He played a lot of series in that game and did not account for a touchdown against Will Anderson and that fierce front. So, Bama's still preseason number 1 in my opinion, but that offensive line needs some work. And then, getting the South Carolina spring game, for me, Spencer Rattler's performance, in my opinion, really emphasized what media members have known all along about the former 5-star. He has the arm-level talent that South Carolina as a program has never seen before at that position, and I thought he looked pretty good Saturday night.
So I actually want to touch on 2 of the things. You mentioned Will Anderson. He was dominant in that game. Is he a legitimate Heisman contender, first of all? And then you mentioned South Carolina, and I was looking at some of the preseason rankings, and you'll usually see South Carolina kind of in the fringes of the top 25. But we were sent something yesterday that PFF had them at 15, which is by far the highest that I've ever seen them. What do you think leads them to that conclusion, and what do you think is fair?
Yeah, for Will Anderson, I think he's a legitimate Heisman contender, mainly because of how last season ended. Didn't get the trip to New York despite deserving it. SEC Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, whoever wins that award is always one of the best players in college football, even if half the media somehow did not watch Will Anderson play last season. And, you look around the nation, and he has sort of that preseason Heisman level hype that Jadeveon Clowney did before his junior season. You know, they both had similar All-American sophomore campaigns, and he's already a well-established name. So Will's definitely a guy that I think is going to be in that Heisman mix if he plays the whole year and has another, 15 sack, 25 tackle for loss type campaign. And, getting the Gamecocks top 15, ranking in PFF way too early. I think that's too high. I think the Gamecocks were somewhere in that 25 to 30 range. I did not see that, reasoning for that ranking, but I assume it's, Jaheim Bell back, Spencer Rattler taking over at quarterback, and, the Gamecocks, that analyst thinking the Gamecocks defense is going to be much improved. But yeah, from what I saw Saturday night, I don't think it's a top 15 team. Can it get there? Yes, but outside of Spencer Rattler, there were not too many players on that field that really opened my eyes as a top 15 team.
He's Brad Crawford joining us from 24/7 Sports. We'll get back to that South Carolina, which you were just bringing up. But I want to look right now as we sit here in studio on the SEC Network. They are replaying the Florida spring game. And I want to get your take on two teams right now that I think are very interesting in the East. The Florida Gators with new coach Billy Napier, and Tennessee with second-year coach Josh Heupel. Brad, yesterday I was kind of mentioning on this program that if you made me vote, if you did a way too early preseason SEC East ranking, I'd have Georgia 1. I'd probably have Kentucky 2, and then it would be Tennessee 3. Where do you kind of stand right now with the Gators and with the Volunteers, two teams that I think are going to be very interesting for South Carolina this year now as they flip the rotation? They'll go to Florida but host Tennessee.
Yeah, I would have Tennessee 2, and then maybe Kentucky or South Carolina in that 3 spot. I don't think Florida's going to have a very good year, despite Anthony Richardson being what I consider, a top half SEC quarterback. I think outside of him, Florida is really missing some key personnel in key spots. And if you've listened to Billy Napier all spring, he has really stressed the need for transfer pickups after spring camp, and he said the same after the spring game. Watching that game, Anthony Richardson played well, but there were other areas, notably in the secondary on defense and at some of the playmaker spots where, that did not look like a usual Florida team. So maybe a 6-6, 7-5 at best type year out of Florida from Billy Napier in year one. And then, getting to Knoxville and Tennessee, I think Hendon Hooker, the quarterback there, is probably the best player in the SEC at that position behind Bryce Young. I expect another 30 to 35 touchdown pass season out of him. And he's a guy, if Josh Heupel really unleashed him, could probably, rush for 800 to 1,000 yards too, but they need him to stay healthy. Tennessee's a team that last season, play Alabama in Tuscaloosa to a 7-point game with about 8 minutes left. So, and they got a lot of guys back on both sides of the ball. So Tennessee's a team that I think is going to challenge for that 8-4, 9-3 type season that can really put some fear in Georgia in that late season game.
So you just kind of laid out the East for us, but the West I feel like is a lot more open after Alabama than normally. I don't know how you have that thing stacked up, but are you in on A&M finally taking the big jump and not dropping a unnecessary game? Is it Brian Kelly in year one immediately turning around a talented LSU team? And I guess just a sidebar, who do you think is going to play quarterback for them? Or is it Ole Miss? Are you in on Jackson Dart and Michael Trigg and all those transfers and hitting the ground running there?
Yeah, it's really kind of tough to handicap the SEC West behind the Crimson Tide right now. I think A&M still has some quarterback issues. You look at that roster overall, it's probably the third best roster in the SEC behind Alabama and Georgia. Take your pick for those 1-2 spots there. But Haynes King or Max Johnson transfer from LSU, Jimbo Fisher still has not decided on his guy. And I mean, A&M has not had a, difference making quarterback since Johnny Manziel. And if this is a team that is going to get to the playoff and win it over the next 3 or 4 years with that best ever signing class coming in, it starts with the quarterback spot. And I'm not sure if Jimbo has really, put his confidence in one of those two players yet. I think LSU is going to be interesting. Brian Kelly right now hasn't decided on his quarterback either, whether it's Arizona State quarterback, Jaden Daniels or Max Johnson, the kind of incumbent guy there who's likely to get the job. So I think the SEC West is wide open. Arkansas is a team that could possibly win 9 games. KJ Jefferson might be the second best quarterback in that division, returning behind Bryce Young. And then you mentioned Ole Miss. It's a transfer heavy class. I trust Lane Kiffin's offense to put up numbers, but he has not found a defense yet in Oxford, and that's kind of the biggest issue I have with Ole Miss going into 2022.
Their spring game Saturday, one of the later ones. I just checked the date on that. I'll actually be interested to see Jackson Dart because there's a lot of buzz around that kid.
Real quick, Brad,
very good quarterback.
Real quick, you mentioned 9 potential wins for Arkansas, and that will certainly be the game that a lot of people circle September 10th for South Carolina. They got to go on the road and take on the Razorbacks. Your take on Arkansas right now coming out of the spring, and just a quick handicap or thought on what you see being important in that game, because South Carolina opens with Georgia State. I'm pretty certain Arkansas opens with Cincinnati that weekend. I think, Patrick, you were the one that told me that. So it's an interesting weekend, an interesting opener for Arkansas. But, Brad, that game is going to be massive for Shane Beamer in South Carolina in terms of maintaining momentum, especially with Georgia right behind it. As we come out of spring, how do you see that game?
I mean, yeah, if you're one of those guys like me that plays over-unders in April for season win totals, I mean, that game's going to probably be the difference between a banner year for the Gamecocks, 8 or 9 wins, or a loss resulting in 6 or 7. In my opinion, it's a huge road game. It's KJ Jefferson's one of the better quarterbacks the Gamecocks are going to face all season, and it's a game where South Carolina's going to have to establish some sort of running game. I don't see Spencer Rattler going out there and going 30 of 35 against that Barry Odom defense. We saw the last couple of years, Matt Corral, one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, really kind of struggle. 2 years ago, threw 6 picks in that matchup because Barry Odom threw so many different coverages and blitzes at him. So I think it's a big game for Scott Satterfield. Obviously, I don't think South Carolina's going to have to show too much against Sean Elliott and Georgia State in that opener. So I think that week 2, SEC opening game at Arkansas is going to really tell us a lot about this 2022 South Carolina team. And not that I would judge the whole season on that game, but starting 1-0 in the SEC with Georgia the following week versus 0-1 is a huge difference.
Marcus Satterfield, Scott Satterfield. If he wants to be the offensive coordinator, we knew what you meant. That's all right. A lot of Satterfields out there. Real quick, and then we'll let you go. Just final thoughts. You kind of mentioned it, Spencer Rattler, but you still want to see more. Final thoughts on South Carolina's spring game and anything that caught your attention from what you saw Saturday night.
Yeah, there was a throw Spencer made late in the second quarter. I think it was a 3rd and 18 play where he kind of heaved it off his back foot. That really impressed me over top of coverage. That 30-yard completion to Xavier Legette out of that bunch formation in the first quarter, that was one that NFL scouts are going to really like. And I thought the Wake Forest transfer, Christian Beal Smith, looked pretty good in the backfield. Juju McDowell had a couple of nice plays. And then Antoine Wells, the transfer from James Madison, he's a guy that I think is going to be a true difference maker in that passing game with Jaheim Bell. One area that I was a bit disappointed in was offensive line play. I think it underwhelmed a little bit against that, first team front 7 on defense. I think Shane Beamer still has to figure out kind of the rotation there during fall camp. All in all, man, you can't tell much from a spring scrimmage with such a vanilla playbook and no Baylor Austin Stogner, but the Gamecocks have the look of a team with a roster that's capable of maybe an 8-4 type finish.
He's Brad Crawford. We appreciate him taking his time out. Go take care of those girls, get them healthy there, and then we'll get ready for football and catch up with you later this summer.
Thanks a lot, fellas.
Take care. Brad Crawford of 24/7 Sports. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at bcrawford247 is the way to do that. Does a fantastic job there covering for 24/7 Sports. We'll come back. We'll get Patrick's thoughts on that, get back into a little bit of that Deebo Samuel discussion, and carry on. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's coming up on the next halftime show.
Hey, guys, James.
Oh, slow down. Pace yourself. Pace yourself.
Up on Wednesdays.
You feel like you got to sit down?
Time.
You want to take a break in the middle of this promo? Take a break, sit down?
I'll have had, by the time we hit the air, Wednesday at noon, I'll have had at least 3 more naps in addition to a regular amount of sleep. But I have to prepare and be energetic because our good friend Ryan McGee of ESPN and the SEC Network will be with me.
Fantastic. Rest up for that.
I will.
Need to be able to get through that.
And we're having a celebratory birthday dinner at my house for one of my children. So
what time do I have to be over?
Hopefully, well, I don't know if you want me to see me pass out for that, because that might be what happens.
I will video it. We'll put it on the website.
Oh, no, that's not. All right, all of that and a whole lot more Wednesday halftime show. See you.
The Halftime Show with Jay, Terry, and Tommy.
Noon to 3
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
That time of year where you start thinking about spring vacations, maybe you're already starting to plan the big summer vacation. Getting out of the house and traveling. One of the key elements of traveling is having a reliable vehicle, making sure you save money when you have to purchase a reliable vehicle to get you to that summer vacation. Love Chevrolet has you covered. Right now, Love Chevrolet is not adding the extra add-ons to their sticker price, giving people sticker shock when they arrive out at the dealership. No, sir. Love Chevrolet's been in business for 60 years, and they continue to do things the right way, treat their customers the right way by keeping their prices the exact same, even in this time of high demand and low supply. So get out to Love Chevrolet today to find out all the great deals, whether it's a car, a truck, or an SUV. Love Chevrolet is going to treat you the same way they have since they opened their doors in 1961. They cater to their customer. 14 acres of brand new Chevys to choose from. They have an incredible certified pre-owned lot as well. If you're looking to get that college or high school graduate a vehicle and send them off into the real world, Love Chevrolet has got you taken care of. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can visit them on the web as well, lovechevy.com. You can even speak with a seasoned professional. I have to admit, I was in the car sitting at Austin's pickups at the school for the pickup line, got on the Love Chevy website, started looking at some trucks. I might be going in the direction of a Silverado here in the near future. And I started looking and browsing, and Love Chevrolet's got a great website that you can go and do the same. You can even speak with a seasoned professional if you don't want to go out there and order the car or truck that you've been looking for. Love Chevrolet, been in business since 1961, taking care of their customers. They'll continue to do it. Go find out for yourself. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. ShepherdsGlass.com.
Still just working an earlier accident, I-20 eastbound near Clemson Road. But other than that, things moving along fairly well throughout the Midlands. And we're looking at a nice forecast on tap for today. 71 for the high, 77 tomorrow, 83, that is, on Friday. But right now, you do need that jacket. It is 44 at 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. The Powerball jackpot for Wednesday is $370 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. CSCEducationLottery.com for jackpot odds in a store near you.
Hey, it's Terry Ford from 107.5 The Game, hanging out with our buddy Adam Vance from Sound and Images. Adam, everybody knows about the events that you folks do over at SNI, but there's a lot more to Sound and Images. Please explain.
We have really upped our commercial AV installation division. You name it, any kind of commercial audiovisual application that you can think of, we are pretty much involved with.
Thanks a lot, Adam. Hey, if you want to hit up Adam Vance over at Sound and Images, just call 803-791-3925 or go to soundandimages.net.
I'm Kayla Burton with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Cardinals flew in for the start of their offseason program Tuesday, but their lead bird did not attend. Arizona quarterback Kyler Murray is not expected at any of the voluntary workouts this month amid his ongoing contract impasse with the team. Also staying away from workouts, Titans receiver A.J. Brown. The Pro Bowler is heading into the final year of his rookie contract, and he wants a new deal. Brown also recently scrubbed all mention of the Titans from his social media pages. But the Super Bowl champion Rams had a good turnout at the start of their offseason workouts. Quarterback Matthew Stafford says he feels, quote, pretty darn good despite the shortened rest from their Super Bowl run. All-Pro Cooper Kupp also in attendance while working on a new contract with the team. Kupp says he doesn't care if he ends up the highest paid receiver in the NFL. He just wants a deal that's fair to him and to the Rams. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Between business life, social life, and her best bud Loki, Beverly has a lot to focus on, especially while fighting Stargardt, a blinding retinal disease. But she's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Beverly, winning the fight means focusing on what's closest to her. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
If you have a small business, Staples has your sign.
Banners for my bakery?
Staples has your sign.
Oh, posters for my new pet store.
Floor decals for a pharmacy. Every day, Staples associates help every kind of small business create bold signs to make big impressions. And now get $10 off custom signs, banners, and posters when you spend $50 or more. This is your sign, so print it big at Staples. Ends 5/28. Visit staplesconnect.com/thisisyoursign for details.
Dave had a project he had to get done. He was in a hurry because the game was coming on. He put on his shoes, he put on his socks. Then out the door he went to install a mailbox. He was forgetting something he couldn't quite recall. Then it hit him. I have to make a call. He ran in the house, he grabbed his phone. He quickly dialed 811. His lines are marked so he can dig without flaw. It was fast, free, and easy, and it was also the law. Sponsored by South Carolina 811. Aired by SCBA in this station.
The Men's Clinic is devoted to your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Dr. Dan Botnight and his staff want to help you restore your low testosterone.
Some of the symptoms we find people relate to us at the Men's Clinic is lack of drive, brain fog, not sleeping well, lack of energy, sex drive, just general drive at work, at play, at home. After you've been in the Men's Clinic and we've tailored your treatment for you and got you back to the best levels you can be, the brain fog goes away. People think clear, sleep better, recover from exercise better. Overall sense of drive is much better.
My relationship with my wife has always been a good relationship, but since I've been on this treatment plan, remarkably and surprisingly, it's gotten better.
Men's Clinic is awesome.
Come see us at the Men's Clinic. You'll find our clinic non-threatening, comfortable, open to hear your concerns. I know a lot of guys out there don't want to go to the doctor. I think you'll find our clinic's a little different than most clinics that you come see. So please give us a call and check us out online, mensclinicsc.com. We'd love to see you.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
.654 on a Wednesday morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrett, Jen Jensen, as we carry you through here this morning. Big thank you to Brad Crawford for joining us there in the previous segment. There's some good information. He did the Scott Satterfield thing. Was we both stared at each other here. I was like, oh, that's all right if the Louisville hiccup. But I understand there's a lot he's got to keep up with. And Scott Satterfield, Marcus Satterfield, look at his. It is still 6:45 in the morning.
That is also when you cover college sports, there's just so many more names to know all the time. Like you get to know NFL players and you know that they're on the same team for a while and you can the rosters are generally the same every year, but resetting coordinators for every team and head coaches for every team. And we were just talking in the break, like all the quarterback battles, Max Johnson's at A&M, Zach Calzada's at Auburn, just the musical chairs of SEC quarterbacks by itself is just impossible to remember. So we kind of do need to give ourselves refresher courses every now and again just to keep up with all the change.
Richard weighing in on the text line. He says, Florida is the sleeper to me, have them finishing no less than second in the East. I don't see it. And we're watching the Florida spring game. It doesn't help. It doesn't help that I've been down on Florida for about 4 years now. So my opinion is pretty meaningless, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens there with the Gators in Napier's first year.
There's no doubt Anthony Richardson has off the charts talent, physical talent, but can't do it by himself.
No, that Florida program, it's in an interesting place. The East as a whole in an interesting place. We'll talk a little college football in the next hour, not just South Carolina, but SEC, big picture stuff. And we'll also get back into that NFL discussion. Deebo Samuel and making the news and the headlines there. We'll get into birthday parties. It's my son Austin's 10th birthday party as he heads off to school. We'll make sure that he knows he's loved. You're listening to the early game, 107.5 The Game.
Local radio 107.5 The Game, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia, a Cumulus media station.
Hi, Scott here with Traditions Fine Jewelry. Everybody knows that diamonds are a girl's best friend, but did you know that now there's a new kind of diamond that's sure to become a girl's new best friend? I'm talking about lab-grown diamonds, of course. They're exquisite, they're stunning, and they're incredibly affordable. Best of all, if you're looking for something big, they eliminate the need to settle for a lower grade stone, because now you can get a beautiful, eye-clean, bright 1-carat diamond for just $14.99. Or how about a gorgeous 2-carat diamond for just $29.99? Or if you want to go really big, how about a 3-carat for just $10,000? Of course, we still carry diamonds that come from the earth, and we always will, because there's nothing more romantic than an earth mine diamond. But now, modern technology, amazing choice. So come see us and
Thank you, thank you. Glad to be back. It was a long day yesterday. It's all bit before the show. I got on the road at 4:30 in the morning to drive into the heart of DC to drop my girlfriend off at the airport. And then as soon as I dropped her off and got back on the George Washington Parkway, got a call from her saying, forgot the dog's leash. And I had to turn around and navigate several highways and drive back into DC. It was chaotic. Solid 9 hours on the road. I'm glad to be back. Yeah, turn that back on.
$7:01 on a Wednesday morning, April the 20th. Just going to be a gorgeous day out there. Happy birthday again to my son, Austin Gunner, turning 10 today. We have sent him to school for all the little kids to celebrate with them. I mean, that's the best place to send them, right? Send them off to school on their birthday. So he heads out to Centerville Elementary to spend the birthday day enjoying it. I am here in studio with Patrick Perrette and Jen Jensen as we carry you through on a Wednesday morning. Been talking a lot of college football and some NFL football as well.
Yeah. So the Florida game just ended. The Florida spring game just ended on the SEC network, and now it's the Vanderbilt spring game.
Oh, we're
on our screen right now is Mike Wright and Ken Seals, the quarterback battle for Vanderbilt, the guy that almost beat South Carolina.
Mike Wright.
Here's the game. Can you name another player on Vanderbilt?
Yeah. Well, he has a very good game in this game. It is a true freshman out of, I believe, Lawrence. It's a wide receiver who a lot of people wanted South Carolina to take. He's
Davion Walker.
Who?
Is it Davion Walker?
No, there's a young man that'll be interesting to follow his career up there.
Jaden McGowan?
Yes.
Jaden McGowan.
Jaden
okay.
McGowan. And I think he had 4 catches for 80 yards. He's a speedster. He's built for his age. He's a true freshman up there in Nashville. And he's the guy that South Carolina looked at very, very closely because he has speed. He's a speedster. And he's kind of built similar to the guy that we've already talked about once this morning, Debo Samuel. He's kind of a little bit of a thicker
Like
guy.
a running back.
And so he's going to be a guy. Just there are certain players that come through, whether they come through the state or whether you, as South Carolina recruits them, that maybe are not highly thought of. You know, obviously when you miss on the Tank Bigsby, as much as it happened with Tank Bigsby's recruitment, when you miss on him, you go, oh, what could have been? But there's younger players, there's players like that. I'm trying to think. Justin Wheeler was a guy who went to Vanderbilt back in the day and turned into a pretty good player. Vanderbilt has got a history of pulling a few good South Carolina prospects out and going up there, kind of under the radar guys, not obviously the big time prospects, but a few under the radar guys. And Jaden McGowan will be one of those guys from Lawrence that South Carolina looked at very closely. But certainly you look at what South Carolina's done with the wide receiving class, Patrick, and we talked a little bit about it. I guess actually you and I did not talk about it. EJ Jenkins entering the transfer portal. That was a guy that you and I talked a lot about on Monday, going, okay, well, he didn't play, but maybe he fits into what South Carolina wants to do. South Carolina does have another transfer yesterday. William Rogers, an offensive lineman turned defensive lineman. No loss there. They're going to still have to trim this roster by about another 4 players to get down to the scholarship numbers. But the EJ Jenkins thing, to kind of go back and wrap on that, since you weren't here yesterday to kind of weigh in on that, he's a guy that I don't know how much he would have contributed, but you liked having whatever it is he brought to the table on your roster where you could utilize it if you wanted to.
Yeah, and we were talking about the roles for receivers, and some people were pounding the table for EJ Jenkins. I had said that I thought that he was not really going to play outside of the red zone and the goal line situations because he just, in the middle of the field, his height isn't as much of an advantage. But down there where you can kind of throw fades or just put the ball up for him in the back of the end zone, I think he would have been useful. It's not a tremendous loss in any way. And if he was going to have a major role in the offense, he'd probably know that by now, and he probably wouldn't be transferring because you come from St. Francis, from a relatively small town in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Your best friend leaves, and because he wasn't going to start and you kind of did still have a role, you just don't leave that situation if you're EJ Jenkins coming where he came from, if you thought if it was going to be a big year for you this year. So I don't think it's a tremendous loss, but it doesn't make you better. I mean, it doesn't make you feel better about the receiving core. I think he would have carved out a relatively useful role if not for any other reason than just being the jump ball threat.
If he was here, or if he had stayed, over under 12.5 catches this year, 1 per game.
I would say under. I would say he probably would have had between 5 and 10 catches, and almost all of them would have been touchdowns. That's just how I envisioned his role being.
Like in the red zone, inside we'll say the 25, back it up, going down the middle field. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up again. We all know the story with he and Jason Brown, good friends basically growing up and have been around. Jason Brown was not that good this past weekend in the Virginia Tech spring game. We'll see kind of where it goes. He was just 3 of 10 passing from what I could gather in reading about Virginia Tech's spring game. He did have to work mostly with the second and third team offensive lines, which, look, spring game depth issues can be a problem to begin with. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Jason Brown, because I haven't watched the Virginia Tech spring game, and all I've been able to do is gather information on it through reading on their websites. But from what I can gather, it was not the best spring game for him. Again, I know that statistically speaking, he was 3 of 10 this past weekend. The other transfer quarterback, whose name
Grant Wells.
Grant Wells had a pretty good weekend up there playing with the first team, and so just something.
Marshall.
Just something.
And the Virginia Tech coach is who?
Brent Pry, the former defensive coordinator.
I was looking at the route because Our Lads is a website that does depth charts, and their lineup, they're meaningless really for the most part, but they do give some decent info. So I just looked to see who they had as slotted in as the starter, and they do have Grant Wells as the starter. But I saw Brent Pry's name up there at the top, and I was like, oh yeah, if you had just asked me that 2 minutes ago, Would not have remembered that name.
Yeah, it's again, we'll see how it kind of plays. Interesting because it is, Jason Brown. And look, no ill will toward Jason Brown. Yeah, I would love to see him go to Virginia Tech and do very well. If not for Jason Brown, South Carolina does not go to a bowl game. I mean, Jason Brown, the South Carolina fans should thank him. South Carolina is in a great position now. If they don't go to a bowl game, Patrick, if they don't beat Florida, I know it was a lot of the running game that beat Florida, but Jason Brown made some great plays against Auburn. If they don't win those games, I think it's fair to wonder if Spencer Rattler sees South Carolina as a destination for a team who may have gone like say 4-8 or 5-7. They might have been viewed a little bit differently than a team that had gone 6-6. And Shane Beamer can say, "Hey, we made it to a bowl game without you. Imagine what we can do with you." Like
And to get to that bowl game, I mean, they needed high-profile wins. You beat two very high-profile teams, whether they're on down years or not, or whether one coach lost his job after it. It doesn't matter. Florida and Auburn are high-profile wins. I mean, that just carries weight, no matter if they're down or not.
803-404-6100. Buddy Jim in Carolina Beach, our resident Clemson fan, says, "Happy birthday, Austin." So Austin getting a bunch of attention, my son, this morning for turning 10. The big 1-0 for him. He hits double digits. We've talked a lot about, we'll get into Patrick State because I'm interested in hearing your opinion on what I just said or what I was talking to Brad Crawford about. I brought this up yesterday and thought more about it as I kind of went through the day. I'll go to I'll go to SEC Media Day in July. And they'll give me that. They'll send out the little email where I have to fill out the East and the West and my prediction. And my predictions are never right. I'm awful at that. But I'll probably try and do it again, and we'll share our predictions. If you have to rank the East right now, how would you do it? Because, Patrick, I got into this topic yesterday based off of Pro Football Focus's top 25, where they have South Carolina at number 15 right now. They got Clemson at number 4. They have South Carolina 15, which I think is high. I would still, if you're asking me, I would still have Tennessee ahead of South Carolina. I think the difference between Tennessee and South Carolina right now, from what I can tell, is Shane Beamer's kind of a publicity guy. He knows he's done a great job of drawing attention to the South Carolina program. Josh Heupel quietly up there is going about his business, and you just heard Brad Crawford say Hendon Hooker, probably the second best quarterback. I don't know if I'd buy that. I forget how he phrased it. I'd have to go back and listen to it because I think a lot of people would argue based on past production, Spencer Rattler would be the number 2 quarterback in the SEC behind Bryce Young. But if I heard Brad Crawford phrase that properly, he was going with Hendon Hooker at Tennessee.
It is hard to stack up the SEC quarterbacks right now because there's a very clear number 1 in Bryce Young. Obviously, when you're the defending Heisman Trophy winner, that's the case. But there's just such a cluster of inter-conference transfers, too. Like, Auburn's got the Finley versus Calzada battle. LSU and A&M are in pretty similar spots, with A&M doing the battle with Max Johnson and Haynes King, and then the freshman whose name is what's their 5-star freshman's name? I can't remember his name.
If you did not ask me,
LSU obviously has Miles Brennan versus now Jaden Daniels, and then they've got Walker Howard, their freshman.
Howard, yes.
A&M has one of the top quarterbacks.
I'll pull it up. I'll get it here.
So it's hard to even know. And obviously Jackson Dart's getting tons of buzz as the best quarterback in the conference. And then, I mean, you mentioned Kentucky at number 2. I just gut instinct wouldn't have put Kentucky number 2 in the East, but Will Levis is in the conversation for best returning quarterbacks in the conference right now. I mean, there's not that many of them, but I would put Georgia 1, obviously, and I think I would put Tennessee 2, and then I would put South Carolina and Kentucky fighting for number 3, and then 4, 5, 6 is Florida, Missouri, Vanderbilt. I don't see it with any of those teams. I don't know what Missouri is going to be the next year. Missouri's kind of the team that never gets headlines. You never really know what they're going to be, but they're pretty well coached, and they're just kind of a chippy team.
Connor Weigman is the quarterback, and he was the number 2 quarterback in the country behind Cade Klubnik, who obviously went to Clemson there. So
I mean, that's LSU and Texas A&M, very similar spots, both incredibly talented teams that always recruit really well. Both have solid coaches, and then they have a battle between a returning veteran, an incoming transfer, and a highly touted freshman. So kind of 2 parallels for those teams that always play in Week 12 as well.
803-404-6100. We'll get into that as it pertains to the SEC Eastern Division. You're right. The West is still going to be Alabama's, but at some point, Texas A&M has to not just beat them but overtake them. You look at Kevin Sumlin with Johnny Manziel beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa way back when. Now, whatever year that was, I don't even remember now. But you go all the way back and you remember that. They obviously got him this year with Zach Calzada's incredible performance and a fun game there in College Station. So, where do you put Texas A&M? Where do you put LSU? Because I think initially, coming off of kind of another down year, you had the COVID year and you had last year, you say, oh, LSU's down. LSU's not down. There's a lot of talent sitting in Baton Rouge, and you bring in Brian Kelly, who is a really good coach, maybe really bad at speech or trying to project a Southern accent, but he's a really good football coach.
He's a chameleon.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we'd all call it.
That's what he is. But that is true. I mean, Jimbo needs to win the SEC, really. Needs to win a championship, because we all know he's a great coach. He's won a national championship, but it's not for whatever reason. It's because he hasn't done it at A&M yet, but he's not thought about in the same sentence as Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, even Lincoln Riley, who's never even won a championship. But I feel like people just hold him in higher regard than Jimbo anyway. He's got to do that, and the talent is off the chart, so there's zero excuses for him. Brian Kelly has zero excuses now, because he was convinced that he didn't have the talent to win championships at Notre Dame, even though it was littered with 5 stars. He said, I don't have enough talent. I need to go to the SEC. LSU will always be one of the 5 most talented teams in the country, just from that recruiting base. Louisiana is so ridiculously talented, and they all go to LSU. There's no competition there, so he's got no excuse. And then I feel like Mississippi State, Auburn, Arkansas are all kind of lagging behind right now, but Lane Kiffin needs to seize all of this momentum and really capitalize on it, because things are going very well for him right now. He's getting a lot of buzz. Everyone thinks that he's doing a great job, and now you got a 5-star quarterback, another 5-star quarterback, I guess. I don't know what you qualify Jackson Dart as, but he was a 5-star transfer portal quarterback. I don't know if he was a 5-star going into Southern Cal or not, and then also the freak athlete Michael Trigg coming with him from Southern Cal. So they're going to have to score 1 million points, and it's just, the West is really interesting. And Georgia, I mean, isn't going to make it interesting in the East, but they also might have the worst. No, Vanderbilt's probably got the worst, but they have one of the worst quarterbacks in the conference. And
you don't put the beast.
He has
to put the beast down.
I mean, he just objectively is one of the worst quarterbacks he's one of the 5 worst quarterbacks in the conference. Anthony Richardson's better than Stetson Bennett.
Well,
Will Levis is better than Stetson Bennett. Hendon Hooker is certainly better than Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, but I mean, I see where but you're just talking athletically or what. Stetson Bennett does what he has to do to allow. I mean, he does what he has to do to allow, or
he does what he can do.
Let me take that back.
He does what he can do.
He did what he had to do to allow that defense to win football games, right? Like he didn't have to turn around, give the ball to the running backs, throw some quick passes. He did hit some long passes. I'm not going to go on the tangent of Stetson Bennett. I agree with you in terms of NFL potential, which is why Stetson Bennett came back. He's maxing out his football career.
Yeah, but
he's
he was
maxing it out.
He should have just graduated and said, I'm done.
No, he come back for one more year.
What if he doesn't do it again?
He's the man around Athens.
What if he loses his job?
He will forever be the guy who, after 31 years, gets him back.
Who's even the backup now there?
Probably Vandergriff. I don't know what it is coming out of spring. I have no idea, but I would assume Brock Vandergriff is the backup. I haven't taken time to look at Georgia's depth chart.
I mean, he could lose his job this year.
I doubt it, though, because he will do to what you were saying, the bare minimum. He'll hand the ball off.
There's not a guarantee their defense is going to be as dominant as it was last year. They're losing so much. They're losing 5 first-round draft picks.
Well, we had J.C. Sherbert on
Maybe
yesterday.
6.
J.C. came on yesterday, and we were talking about that, and he said, look, and he was going over Travion Walker stuff, 6'5", 255, ran a 4.51. He goes, yeah, that's a freak, and I get it. Georgia's recruited exceptionally well. That doesn't necessarily mean you've got another Travion Walker sitting behind
or Jordan
him.
Davis or any of these guys. And honestly, Georgia didn't use them to the best of their abilities. Devontae Wyatt, Jalen Carter, who's still there, will be a first-round pick next year. Jordan Davis, Trayvon Walker, and Nolan Smith, who was the highest recruited out of all of them, #1 player in the country, all in one defensive line. Quay Walker, Channing Tindall, Nakobe Dean, all leaving. Lewis Seen, their safety. Darren Kendrick, who ran a 4.8. Darren Kendrick was slower than Jordan Davis, by the way, in the 40. That's I don't know if that says more about Jordan Davis or Darren Kendrick, but he's not going to get drafted now. But they're still losing so much.
Be crazy. We'll continue talking about it. We'll get into more of the SEC East. Again, we've talked obviously a lot about the South Carolina spring game this past weekend, and we'll continue discussing that. But we'll now start to take a big picture view of the SEC and look at the East, look at the West as well. We'll get back into the NFL information. Deebo Samuel in the news yesterday. So a lot to get to this morning. Patrick Pratt is back in studio. We're all hanging out. Jen is surviving in there. She's injured herself. What did you do without going too graphic here? How did you hurt yourself? I heard a woodworking project and
Yeah, I did one of those, wood crafting workshops last night and was sanding.
Oh.
And it was not a fantastic piece of wood. And yeah, there's a splinter in the nail bed now below the white.
Oh.
It's throbbing like, yeah. So probably going to seek some medical attention once I get out of the show today because it's going to require some
all right. That's good.
intervention.
There we go.
Do you want to look at it?
Well, I do not. I do not handle that well. I'll never be a doctor or anything in a hospital. All right. Well, we'll move on. That sounds awful. We'll move on. We'll get back to sports discussion. Just keep Jen in your thoughts and prayers. We got a lot going on. Family here on the early game. Jen's injured. It's Austin's birthday. Right. It's his 10th birthday.
That's our focus.
Jen trying to whittle him a beautiful wooden
That's what I was doing, man.
Cake. Yeah, like just whittle him a present. Has injured herself. So we've got a lot going on. If you want to be a part of the program, 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
I wish. Sadly, there's no wine involved. Wish there had been.
Only Galliana Kia on Greystone sells new Kias below MSRP. That's right, new Kias below MSRP. Like a 2022 Kia Rio LX, just $16,990. Yes, a new Kia for under $17,000. All new 2023 Galliana Kia Sportage, now in stock. Lease for just $259 per month. Worried about your trade-in? Don't. Galliana Kia will take any trade, in any condition. High mileage, cosmetic issues, unreliable, all trade-ins are welcome. Plus, we'll give you exactly what your trade is worth down to the penny. So if you want to overpay for a new Kia, that's okay. But if you want to buy a new Kia below MSRP,
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
Galliana Kia on Greystone. I-126 Zoo Exit in Columbia. Call 779-7300 or KiaColumbia.com. We have stock number 2K1116. Sportage stock number 3K3011. 36 months lease, $39.90 to assign. Plus tax tag includes $225 closing fee. No security deposit. Subject to lender approval. Offers don't combine. Expires with that.
Uneven sidewalks, pool decks, or patios? Canty can repair them for just a fraction of the cost of replacement. Call Canty Foundation Specialists today for your free estimate.
Canty can fix it.
Uneven concrete can be a dangerous tripping hazard leading to injury. Call the experts at Canty to permanently repair your sinking or cracked concrete. Call 753-1495 or visit CantyCanFixIt.com. Canty can fix it.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hey there, how's it going? It's Tate of the Titus and Tate podcast. We just spent the last few weeks giving you the best coverage of the NCAA tournament.
Smiles all around. The clock will wind down. That is it.
And while the tournament might be over, we're never done. Each week we'll be covering all the coaching moves, player moves, and everything else that happens in the college basketball offseason and beyond. Never miss an episode. It's the Titus and Tate podcast. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Time now for the old-timey meat market clip of the day. September 4th, 1993. On opening day, Coach Sparky Woods' Gamecocks challenged the Georgia Bulldogs between the hedges. With the Gamecocks trailing 21-17 in the final seconds, future Hall of Famer Steve Tannehill handed the ball to future Hall of Famer Brandon Bennett. Here's the great Bob Fulton with his sidekick, Tommy Suggs.
1.5-yard line, double tight end for Carolina. And here's to get the Bennett. It's over, but he's not in the end zone. He's right at the goal line with 21 seconds remaining. 21 seconds remaining. And the players are slow getting up. 15 seconds, 14. They're trying to hurry the players up. 10 seconds, 9 seconds. They line up in the power eye again. 5 seconds. Give the ball to Bennett. He dives. Bennett dives over the top. Touchdown. Carolina will draw 15-yard penalty. Celebrating. I know there's only 2 seconds remaining of the ball. Yep.
Final score, Gamecocks 23, Dogs 21. And that's our old-timey clip of the day, sponsored by Old Timey Meat Market with 3 locations, Lexington, South.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. The early game
with Bill Gunter, Patrick Perret, and Jen Jensen
on your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
7:29 on a Wednesday morning, April the 20th. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen, as we cruise through here. We've been talking a lot of football as we kind of wrap up the spring game season. Patrick, I haven't looked. You mentioned this weekend a few more games. I think you mentioned Mississippi spring game this weekend. Should be really about the final weekend of spring games across the country. Am I right? Do you have a
I
list?
would think so. I'm pulling up the SEC spring game schedule right now, and it does appear that April 25th.
Oh,
isn't that a Monday?
It does seem right. Yep, Monday. A Monday night spring gamer?
This can't be right. This has to be. Yeah, this is old.
Okay.
Okay. 2022 SEC spring football games announced. So yeah, this is the last one. Ole Miss and LSU on Saturday. Ole Miss will be at 1 p.m. on SEC Network Plus, and obviously LSU, same thing, 2 p.m.
Okay.
SEC Network Plus for both of them.
Yeah, and they'll start replaying. This is what the SEC Network will do: is you'll start getting everything was on the SEC, everything live was on the SEC Network Plus, but now it's being used as content on the SEC Network. So, like this morning, we've already seen the Florida spring game, and they've got the Vanderbilt spring game up live. You want to take an estimate on attendance for the SEC, or excuse me, for the Vanderbilt spring game?
94.
Patrick, during the break, we're sitting here watching. We're just kind of talking about things. Patrick looks at the Vanderbilt spring game and goes, "The attendance is just sad." It's like, it's the Vanderbilt spring game.
There's just absolutely no one in the stadium.
There's got to be there had to be somebody playing down on, is it Broadway? Is that right?
That's in West Nashville, so it's not on Broadway.
No. What's the main?
The main drag.
Yeah, the main drag is Broadway.
Yeah.
I was like, there's got to be some up and coming artist who's playing at 2:00 on a Saturday that's far more entertaining than going to the Vanderbilt spring game.
Will they ever turn it around?
Well, define turn it around. Vanderbilt
be competitive. I mean,
they've been competitive. What they did under Bobby Johnson was absolutely incredible. I mean, they beat South Carolina twice. As low of a point as Steve Spurrier's career as it could get, I would assume, was that loss. South Carolina was ranked number 6 in the country and was 6-1 and ranked 6. They had just beaten North Carolina, and Vanderbilt came in here in 2017 and won 17-6 that day. I think Justin Wheeler, who I've actually already mentioned, if you have Justin Wheeler, former North Augusta standout, Justin really won the bingo card. But I think he had a touchdown catch that day, and Blake Mitchell and Savell Newton really struggled at quarterback, and South Carolina could never get it going. And obviously that ended up being the downfall. South Carolina lost 5 straight games there to wrap up that season and didn't go to a bowl. But, those were kind of how things played out. But under Bobby Johnson, and look, James Franklin had as much success. They had game day there. I think Franklin was the coach, and they had game day there against Auburn. 08, 09, maybe somewhere in there.
They're adding a indoor practice facility for football, a football ops building, a basketball operations building, and they're replacing both end zones in Vanderbilt Stadium with multi-story buildings. It's a $300 million project. Nashville is growing at a rapid rate. Like, my girlfriend lives there, and I've seen firsthand it's growing faster than it really can handle. Like, it's expensive to live there now. It is a big time city now, and it's just big buildings popping up everywhere. Is Vanderbilt just, because of the academics and all that stuff, are they just like not prepared to take advantage of it? Like, you would think that it is the biggest market in the SEC, right?
Yeah,
I guess Georgia, if you want to count Atlanta.
It's an interesting question because you could, in a way, compare South Carolina basketball to Vanderbilt football. Some of you might say, well, that's a bit of a stretch. But look, Vanderbilt has had moments in the sunshine, not quite like a Final Four run, but they've had moments in football where there has been, again, they're fleeting and they're brief, but there's been success. And we saw some of it again. I saw it firsthand with Bobby Johnson and James Franklin. And again, you go back to, if South Carolina fans remember that opening Thursday night, South Carolina went up there on a Thursday night to Nashville. I think Connor Shaw was playing, and that was a James Franklin-led team, and that was a fourth quarter game. I think it was the return of Marcus Lattimore. So I'm thinking, I'm dating myself, and I think that was 2012 maybe. DJ Swearinger had to make maybe a pass interference there late in the game for South Carolina to secure it. Justice Cunningham had to have a big catch down the middle where he got just hammered. and held on to the ball. Justice Cunningham, one of the most underrated Gamecocks, I think, in the last 20 years. But the point being is that we've seen Vanderbilt have some success, but I don't know. And if you go to our Buford Lending live stream, Patrick is showing some of the things that Vanderbilt is doing, and we bring that up because, South Carolina basketball is something that obviously we haven't talked quite as much here lately as we're waiting to see what happens with the transfer portal and where guys come from. But you have to kind of dedicate yourself to winning. You've got to build some facilities, and it looks like Vanderbilt may be about to do that in football. South Carolina basketball has got to the administration has got to take a dedication to giving a coach everything they want. The money is going to be there. The financial part with the money coming in from what is soon to be a new television deal, the money is going to be there to not just pay coaches. That's the easiest thing in the world, but to provide better facilities, to provide better training, to provide whatever it is your organization needs to be a winner.
Well, and the fan base part of it is also just interesting. Like Vanderbilt can have incredible facilities, but if kids come out and watch the game and there's 75% Gamecock fans. I mean, I've been to only South Carolina games there and LSU games there. Both of those games, I'm not exaggerating when I say there's substantially more away fans. Substantially more away
Well, it's
fans.
because of what you just said. Nashville is
it's an attraction.
It's a great, Nashville.
And it's the perfect trip for an SEC fan because you're getting to go to Nashville and you're going to watch a win.
Right.
You're going to watch your team blow out Vanderbilt, and it's awesome.
And it's not the worst stadium in the world. It's not,
to be honest, well, it's not a good stadium, but also there's something nice about it where you get a great view of the action because you're very close. Because it's really small.
Right.
If you're in the upper decks if you're paying for LSU season tickets and you're in the upper decks of Death Valley, you can go to the Vanderbilt game for $40 and you can be 5 times closer to the action than you were at that
hear
game.
Brian Kelly try to have a Southern accent during the game.
You can just get
players.
up and walk to the next section forward because there's nobody else there. You can just move seats. They're basically general admission tickets.
803-404-6100. One time we went up to a Vanderbilt game. To your point, it was me and 2 of my buddies, and my father had gotten us tickets, so we were kind of in the high-end donor section. We were younger. We were mid-20s or whatever. We'd been tailgating, as people tend to do in Nashville, and it's early in the game, and one of my buddies was very into the game, was very fired up, and South Carolina was playing defense, and I forget what defensive end came off the edge and misses the sack, and my buddy yells out, again, the high end, like the high end donors who do not cheer, who clap very quietly. And one of my buddies stands up and goes, "Rip his bleeping head off." And my other buddy grabs him and goes, "Come on, we're going to another part of the stadium. There's plenty of seats where we won't get kicked out of the Carolina
They
section."
don't talk like that here, buddy.
You can just get him out of the way there. So, yeah, Vanderbilt's an interesting thing. We'll continue talking SEC East football, get you a little bit of audio again from Saturday night where Shane Beamer, Spencer Rattler, and the rest of the Gamecocks talked. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Atlanta Braves Championship Trophy is coming to Columbia. The Atlanta Braves are taking the Commissioner's Trophy on the road for a World Series Trophy Tour presented by Truist. The trophy will be coming to the USC softball game at Carolina Softball Stadium at Beckham Field Wednesday from 4 to 7 p.m. Fans are invited to come out and take a photo with the trophy. That's Wednesday at Carolina Softball Stadium at Beckham Field from 4 to 7 p.m.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
Earlier accidents have been cleared. No accidents to report at this time. So it's a good Wednesday morning out on the highways. Looking for a high today of 71, 77 tomorrow. And man, we're going to hit 83 by Friday. That's good news there. Right now, though, chilly start at 44 at 107.5 The Game.
South Carolina fans, this is DeCarrion Jordan. The Garnet Trust is connecting fans like you with athletes like myself through NIL deals. Head on over to GarnetTrust.com to find out how you can support me and my teammates for as little as $10.
Outspoken Bicycles invites you to spring clean and earn instant.
Yeah, I've really liked the pictures. I think it's going to look really good. They definitely have deep pockets. Just, I don't know. I do like incorporating the share screen.
Oh yeah, there was something yesterday that we were talking about. Oh, it was Jen's snake video. That's what it was. Jen's. And I was like, if Patrick was here, we'd be able to show this.
You can do it. You can just pull up your tab.
Pull up my tab.
Or go to share screen, share on the bottom, share screen. And then I just pick like Microsoft Edge tab. And I can share this. Yeah, that's pretty good looking.
It does look. I mean, look, and I would be excited about that because you know that it's probably going to be cheap to get some tickets in a very.
Yeah. I mean, $300 million is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So that's going to be like you can't see. Can you see my mouse? Yeah, you can see my mouse. That's going to be the ops center.
Yeah, everything's right around each other. That's kind of a neat or weird thing about.
And the indoor right there, I think. But I just don't know if a city that's growing so fast, are these new residents going to adopt Vanderbilt football?
If they win, it'll be like anything else. If they,
Probably.
kind of more like a pro town where if they win. But I mean, you have
Yeah.
the Titans, the Predators, the.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty cool right here. Basketball right there. No, Larry, Vanderbilt's not a military school. Nice looking indoor. I mean, just, yeah, you can see the stadium, how different it'll look. With that big Jumbotron back there and the building behind it. I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what I'm going to take it as. $7:43 on a Wednesday morning, April the 20th. As we glide through, coming up in about an hour, a little less than an hour, Kyle Thompson, our former PGA Tour member, will join us. He's been traveling, and we have not had a chance to catch up with him. And so it'll be kind of interesting. He was at the Masters for a day or two. He was out of town last week, and we weren't able to really catch up with him and get his take on what transpired at the Masters. Obviously, this past weekend, the RBC Heritage really probably didn't get the attention that it deserved. A great tournament down there. Had an incredible really for the RBC Heritage as a whole, had an incredible field, and Jordan Spieth wins a thrilling finish there with Patrick Cantlay. You had a bunch of people involved. Shane Lowry was in there. Harold Varner III was in there. It was a really good tournament. And, I've always said, Patrick, you don't have to be the world's biggest golf fan to go down and enjoy the RBC Heritage. The Masters, yeah, it's a bucket list item because it's pristine and it's a great place, but it's more about the golf. The golf is what takes center stage at the Masters. The Heritage, the golf is interrupting the party that has broken out. And you can enjoy when you get a great field like we had last week. Dustin Johnson was in it. I mean, it was a great field down there in Hilton Head last week, and a really good time. I wish I had the chance to go. Benji Getsy with Buford Lending. I was able to hook up one of our listeners with a pass on the 18th fairway in his VIP tent. He offered it to sub up. We had opportunities to go down as a staff. I didn't get a chance to go, but the RBC Heritage, I encourage you, if you like kind of the party scene, if you like going and seeing people and being seen and kind of just going to a sporting event, it's an event similar to the Kentucky Derby or to maybe to the Indy 500. I don't know, Jen. I think I asked you that last time about, when you go to the Indy 500, because that's kind of foreign to me. Like I would assume that going to a golf tournament is kind of foreign to people. Is it a party where a car race breaks out, or is it a car race where people are enjoying it and having a few drinks?
Yeah, I really think I get the feeling that it's probably 70% race fans.
Okay.
There are so many activities, and like there is definitely the party in the infield, but I mean the stands are packed and they're watching the race. Like it's um and lots of headphones, people paying attention. So I mean, I feel like, yeah, it's probably more race fans, but there's plenty of party fans.
Coming up in I think 2 weeks, not this weekend, but next weekend is the Kentucky Derby. And Patrick, I mean, that's another thing you talk about. Like it's on my bucket list to go to because I think for those of you who may have been, you can probably verify this, that it's more of a party with horses involved. Like they're on the track. You might not know a horse's name or you might not know what's going on, but you're definitely going to enjoy the party. I will admit, I'd like to go to Darlington at some point. I think, Jen, that's maybe more of a party where it's a state treasure where it's something that people that even if you don't really have an interest in NASCAR because of the way Kerry and the group put on the event,
Oh yeah.
that you can go and have a great time. Like I think that going to the Masters, again, I'll use the Masters. You don't have to because there's a lot of people out there who just don't care about golf, and understandable. Golf's a very different sport to get involved in.
Yep.
But you go to the Masters and you probably walk around, you see all 18 holes, and you go, "Okay, I've seen enough of this. Okay, yeah, it's beautiful out here. That took an hour and a half. I'm ready to go home." Whereas you go to the Heritage, and yeah, you might walk around and see an alligator in a pond and see some golfers and stuff. But the way the party is set up, you go, man, I can stay here for all 4 days. I feel like Darlington is set up that way, where you don't have to necessarily know a driver or be fully invested to have a great time down there in Darlington.
I would agree. Yep. I think there's a good party. They have it set up really well. And it doesn't, there's great vantage points to watch. So you can kind of be watching the race for a while
Right.
and then you can be back to, partying. You don't have to be traveling all around a course per se.
Yeah, I think that's probably it's taken me a while to come around to that, but and I don't know if this will be the year that I necessarily make it down to Darlington, but it will definitely be here in the very near future. 803-404-6100. We will continue talking this morning and get involved back in some NFL discussion. Patrick, we've opened talking about Deebo Samuel, some of the things going on with him. I'll ask you when we come back, what are the odds that Deebo Samuel is done in San Francisco? Is this it? Has he maybe drawn too hard of a line in the sand and that the situation with the 49ers is irreparable? We'll ask Patrick Perrett that when we return. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
What could we do like that? Because I want to.
We are coming up on summer where we're going to have to.
Well, I want to do something draft related where if I say, all right, I'm going to guarantee 20, I'm going to lock 20 first rounders. For every one I get wrong, I'll do this.
It just depends on what you're.
What I'm willing to do.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to make it food related? Do you want to? I mean, we're getting back to that point now where we can get the Comrex. We can put your rear end back out there, and
I'll drink during the show. I'll go 32, and I'll bring in Fireball minis, and for every one I get wrong, I'll just hammer a Fireball mini on Friday morning. Be like 5 or 6 shots deep by the end of the show.
I don't remember how Tim did it when he had to walk laps around the state house. He didn't carry a Comrex. Did he take the little piece off?
You can take the main part off, and
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, because that's what Langston would do on the sidelines of.
Yeah, maybe something like that. I mean, we can get you walking around Columbia. Yeah, I mean, we are getting to that. We're probably about 3 weeks away. I'd say if not the Monday after. I'd say the Monday after Monday is pretty much going to be good. Although I honestly, because it's how it works. I don't think the baseball team is going to turn it around a little bit. Because A, I just feel like they are, and B, this game player just is never right.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll make the postseason, but I feel like it's going to be down to the final weekend or whatever, where you're like, all right, they could get in. Like I think Tommy Moody gave the stat, and it is what it is, but the stat where 34% of their games so far, 34% have been played against teams that at some point this year have been ranked number 1. Like. So, and his point of that was like strength of schedule is going to be working with them. And their SEC record is 6-9. If they can go 9-6 and win their midweek games, they probably get into the NCAA tournament. And I kind of agreed, like when he said that, because as he said that yesterday, I kind of started thinking, I was like, well, shoot, if they hadn't blown the game to Xavier, to Citadel,
right.
PC, you're talking about a team who's 4 games above 500 and 6-9 in conference, and you're like, oh, no.
Doesn't look all that bad. Yeah, not a mayo donut. I don't want to do anything mayo. Really, I'm done with the mayo.
Yeah, let's move on.
The mayo bits. I just want an excuse to drink on the show. It's not like I have to go about my day. I go to bed after this.
You actually should, if you wanted to, do what RL said.
Well,
just record a.
Well, this is going to be the whole Monday and Tuesday shows next week because I'll be by myself.
Excuse me, 404-6100. You can be a part of the program. So several of you weighing in this morning. Anonymous texter saying, I have friends that have gone to the Carolina Cup and never see a horse. That's a party with a race, with a horse race. Yeah, I've heard that. I've actually somehow have lived here for 39 years, never gone anywhere else. It'll be 40 years that I've been alive here in this great state. in about a week and a half, and I've never been to the Carolina Cup, and it is probably the biggest disappointment. Have you been?
Yeah, I went in college and did not see. I don't even know where the track was.
Jen, have you ever been to the Carolina Cup?
I've
Okay,
been a couple times.
time to lose.
I was
yeah, I agree.
under.
It's a party, and then there's a horse race, and there's some Jack Russell Terriers.
Oh.
There's races for
Oh,
them.
well, of course,
and,
why
yeah.
not? I apparently, so I'm the loser of the group who's never been to the Carolina Cup.
yeah,
I've got
pretty
it.
much.
Yeah.
We had our little spot and we had a tent, and I was told I was underage. I was only
Oh.
like 19 or 20, but I was told that you don't leave the tent.
Yeah, I have heard
Mhm.
that, but I mean that's wise.
So
I mean
I
that's
didn't. Yeah.
that's wise. But I've never been to the Carolina Cup, and I guess is the Carolina Cup already passed? Is it?
Yeah, we got a call about it a couple weeks ago. Remember?
Yeah, because
Guy
we're
invited
supposed
you.
to go next year.
Oh
'Cause you're
yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
be the
yeah.
front end of a
Dude,
horse or back end of the
Carolina
horse.
Cup 20. So what is it? Is
It'd
were
be
we-
probably April.
2023.
Yeah.
Let's see if
April
it's already got the
2023.
Camden Cup. Saturday, April 1st is what it looks like. The Carolina Cup,
Ah.
April 1st, 2023. So I've got that now on my calendar. All right, no
That would
problem.
be appropriate because I think we are going to work out something where there's a horse costume and you might have to be the front or the back end of it. So being on April Fool's Day, I think that could just be delightful.
It's funny.
I think
you
someone should
mentioned
let
that.
us name a horse.
I guess great minds think alike because as you say that, Reggie Anderson, the person who's somehow winning our NASCAR picks contest, says he said he texts me, he sends me a personal text message, which, hey, Reggie, kudos for being up at 7:55 in the morning and doing something. He says you, referring to me, could enter the Jack Russell race.
He's not that fast, and he'd pull
So
a hamstring.
speaking of Jack and rear ends,
Mhm.
I see the two of you are working in tandem right now to make jokes.
I have mad respect for Reggie.
I don't at all. Send in your pick, Reggie Anderson. Reggie is somehow. I still think that we need an investigation into what's going on.
Oh my
with,
gosh.
with
If
Reggie.
Bill doesn't win, there is something afoot. There's something amiss.
Speaking of, Kent weighs in on the text line, says, went to Darlington for the first time last year, and it is awesome. Have to get that on the bucket list as well. We'll continue on. I'll get into this Deebo Samuel thing with Patrick. What are the odds Deebo Samuel is back with the 49ers next year? We'll talk about that. Get Cal Thompson on, and we got more. It's the early game. 107.5 The Game.
You guys want to run the promo? A 6-foot tall peep? Oh my gosh. That'd be like 3 times the height of Bill.
I don't know what the Ellery trails are, but I can envision there is more alcohol than teeth.
What are the Ellery Trails? Where'd you see that?
Somebody hit us up that Sammy says you haven't lived until you hit the Ellery trails.
Oh, trials.
I'm sorry.
Where is Ellery? I've never even heard of Ellery. Oh, it's on Lake Marion.
I really didn't think that this guy Rick Pound was like.
Keyword.
Spend. S-P-E-N-D. Spend. S-P-E-N-D. The word is spend. $8:01 on a lovely Wednesday morning. A little chilly out there, but it's going to warm up this afternoon as we head toward the weekend. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen. Coming up in about 30 minutes this morning, Kyle Thompson will join us to talk a little Masters, a little RBC Heritage. We were discussing some of the events around the state there in the previous segment that are good, I guess, party spots, but also you got to go to and enjoy the sporting events. Darlington, certainly the RBC Heritage last weekend. We'll get Kyle's take on the RBC Heritage and the Masters, even though the Masters is not in the state of South Carolina. It's just across the border, and we can claim it. We can pretty much claim it. Other great events. A couple of you weighing in. Rooster P and Sammy saying the Ellery trials. Sammy saying you haven't lived until you've hit the Ellery trials. That sounds something. And Rooster P says I've been to the Ellery trials by Santee. Okay. He says also a party lots friends there, aka country boys, farmers, bikers, and Rooster P. So yes, a lot there. We appreciate that. Our buddy Rick, who is usually joining us on the Buford Lending live stream, is heading to play golf in Charlotte. Good luck to you, my man. Hope you have a fantastic day. So he will not be a part of the live stream. If you want to be on the live stream, you can do so. Go to the youtube.com website, search 1075 The Game. You can click subscribe and join our little community there, where this morning Larry Joseph is weighing in, Craig, Travis. I've seen Anthony weighing in. Hope is our mother hen on that thing. Waddy is in there. RL, York. Everybody gets involved and starts chit-chatting back and forth, and they just completely ignored the show. We had a good little back and forth early between Hope and Craig and a few others on the old-timey meat market play of the day, which was Brandon Bennett over the top in 93 against Georgia. So you can go to our YouTube page and our live stream. Patrick's got some stuff planned coming up a week from tomorrow, Patrick. A week from tomorrow is the NFL draft, and your excitement hard to contain. But first, let's start with where we started this morning. Deebo Samuel holding out or not participating. I'm not sure how you exactly want to phrase it for voluntary workouts. And I've never paid attention to the contractual language of these workouts. They can't fine you because they're voluntary. So what they do is they write in a clause. You get a bonus. In Deebo Samuel's case, if he'd have just attended voluntary workouts, he would have gotten a $50,000 bonus. $50,000 to go and just run a couple routes, work with your quarterback. Probably, I'm guessing there's no pads involved. Just get out there, kind of hang around with the teammates, be a part of the organization. But in order to try and secure a new contract, Patrick, Deebo Samuel's giving up $50,000 and not working out.
Well, a lot of teams do this more than others. Like, I think the Packers are notorious for adding a lot of bonuses to their offseason workouts because they know that nobody's going to want to come to Green Bay.
Come back to Green Bay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they do that frequently, but $50,000 is the least of his concerns right now because he's expecting to sign $100 million+ deal. And I have no idea what's led to this point, but he really doesn't even seem like he's given the 49ers a chance to make an offer. And if he doesn't want to be a 49er, then it's going to make this next week really interesting because if he's going to get traded, the 49ers just talk to him and he says, look, I'm not going to sign with you. Just trade me. Then they're going to have to try and make a move. And I don't know what kind of leverage they're going to have. I don't know if teams will – obviously, people will want to trade for him. But, I look at the Jets, and the Jets have 2 top 10 picks, and they've also got numbers 34 and 38, I think. So they've got 35 and 38. So they've got 4 top 38 picks. And, like, if the offer was number 10 overall pick for Deebo Samuel, who says no?
You're better at that than I am in terms of who said, where you
I
think
mean, you can get arguably maybe the number 1 receiver in this draft class, or you can have Deebo Samuel.
But is Samuel, and I brought this up yesterday, because you look back this year, 77, he caught 77 passes for 1,405 yards. Really good receiving year for him. And he had 6 receiving touchdowns. He was used as a running back, and I feel like that's what makes him the bigger weapon is the ability to line him up in different positions, to put him in the backfield. He had 59 rushes this year for 365 yards and 8 more touchdowns. 14 total touchdowns, pretty doggone solid year, and also over 1,700 total yards gained from the line of scrimmage. And so with all that being said, Patrick, I mean, this is a guy who is a weapon, a multifaceted weapon that you can use around the field, but can everybody use him in their offense? Like, could you see him being put in? Let's just go. It's not going to happen because there's no way I would assume that the 49ers would ever trade him to the Green Bay Packers.
You wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't think so. But, like, could you see him is Matt LaFleur was he a Sean McVay or a Shanahan?
Well,
protege?
they're all from the Mike Shanahan tree. So
Okay.
Kyle was the offensive coordinator of that Redskins team. LaFleur was the quarterback's coach. McVay was the tight ends coach.
All right, so technically,
And Mike McDaniel, who's now the head coach of the Dolphins, was the wide receivers coach. So
okay, so
they're all from that tree. So yes, would he fit? Yes, but I don't think anyone would fit as well as he would in Shanahan's system. It's just one, would he fit as well into another offense if you don't have that wide back role as part of your system? And 2, even if he did fit in, do you want to fit him in that way? Like, do you want to pay him $25 million a year and then have him taking handoffs? You're just subjecting him to a different type of hit when you're doing that. It's just the risk of injury of playing that position is basically double what it is for a wide receiver. I mean, you can have soft tissue injuries and things like that as a wide receiver, but when all your tackles are being made downfield and it's a corner just trying to wrap you up or tackle you by your shoelaces, that's different than continuously, like, even if he's not taking 20 carries, 5 to 10 handoffs and running into a defensive line. It's just different.
One other thing, and this is where I completely am on board with Deebo Samuel, with trying to get as much money as possible. I would never tell anybody to not try and get as much money. But one thing to remember about Deebo is he is 26 years old.
Yeah.
And the way he plays the game, I don't see him being a wide receiver that's playing into his mid-30s. I mean, you go back and you look at it, 77 catches this year. Add on to that, he took 59 handoffs. So I'm not saying he got hit every single time. Obviously, he scored 14 touchdowns, Patrick. But, that's right there at, 130, what is that, 136 touches this year Is that right? 136. That's a 77
right.
plus 59, not counting anything else, not counting blocking and getting hit or doing anything like that. I mean, that's a solid number of touches for a player like that. And the way Debo plays, he can take a few more difficult shots, a little harder shots than some of the average wide receivers, and the way he can get landed on. I guess my point is, this is the contract where he has to go for broke, right? You have to earn every penny, because this will be the big contract he receives in his lifetime. This is the life-changing money. He's making $3.98 million, which none of us are turning down $3.98 million. Let's be honest. 3.98, if you know what you're doing, is life-changing money. But this is the one where you talk about 20 to 30 million. I think the other part of this, and this is where I'm going, I wanted to ask you, does Debo end up back in San Francisco? What are the odds? Because last week, or I believe over the weekend, it came out that Debo Samuel saying he has received death threats and racist messages from San Francisco 49er fans over his contract situation. It was put out there by Ari Mirov, I believe, who
Ari
is
Mirov, yeah.
Mirov. Okay. But it's been put out there, and Debo basically saying that 49ers fans are kind of attacking him. Now, he says it doesn't bother him, but let's be honest, that's something
I don't even get it. What are they for? What?
I guess because maybe because he scrubbed his
social
media. Stupid, by the way.
But he did that for a reason too. Like the whole thing is stupid, and I don't blame Debo for wanting to get every dollar. He should, and everyone should. AJ Brown should do the same thing. DK Metcalf should do the same thing. Terry McLaurin should do the same thing. But he's like shooting himself in the foot almost. The unfollowing makes you seem immature. And now these stories that he won't sign with the 49ers no matter what. Like, I guess I just don't really get it, what's going on behind the scenes. If it's because of the fans, okay, well, fans are going to do that in every market. That's just what it is. There's bad fans all over the place. And I don't even know where this would start from. I thought they all just loved him. I mean, he hadn't done anything wrong. I think he's probably the most beloved player on the 49ers right now, maybe George Kittle, but it's just a weird situation. And if it's just about the money, then okay, but seems like this goes deeper than that, and I don't really understand why.
803-404-60.
Yeah, Rodney just texted, no 49ers fan would do what Debo's saying. It's trolls. I mean,
and that's
kind
possible.
of agree with that. I mean, he's the most dynamic player on their team. Why would they be doing that? He hasn't even – it's not like he's denied their offer or anything like that. It's weird. It's a weird story.
803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in this morning. Certainly that was the interesting news as it pertained to players in the NFL. As it pertained to organizations, the Carolina Panthers managed to put themselves in the news yesterday, and Patrick and I have discussed this already this morning as well. And Patrick, I don't know. You know, you can get into the political side of it as it pertains to money and big government and trying to build an infrastructure for the practice facility and all the things that are a little bit out of my brain power there. I think I look at the Panthers situation with what's going on with the training facility there in Rock Hill, and I factor in what's going on with the team and the way that organization, the roster management is being handled and being built. And I was of the opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, that David Tepper would be a good thing for the Panthers. And now I'm wondering, was I incorrect? Was I wrong? Is David Tepper a bad thing for the Panthers? Is this a guy who's made a lot of money, and is he able to turn this organization, this franchise around and bring the players in that's necessary to win and build a franchise that is a consistent contender?
Well, it's not starting off on a good note. I mean, I don't know. I know that he had said, get me a quarterback no matter what, and has been aggressive in trying to pursue that position. So I don't know if he forced the Sam Darnold thing, but the team themselves are in a terrible position right now. You have the number 6 pick, and then your next one isn't until the hundreds. That's a horrible spot to be in when you were a bad team and you don't have any money. As far as everything off the field, it's not a good look at all. I mean, whether Tepper's in the right or the wrong, this is bad. And it's really bad for the city of Rock Hill because they've already devoted resources and cleared this space. And what are they going to do with it?
Well,
now?
they've built part of this. Isn't cleared land. There's Exactly how much of the facility has been built, I haven't been inside. I haven't
No,
seen
but it's large. You can
it-
tell just from the aerial shot that it's a large piece of whatever. I mean, I don't know what percent of that was supposed to be, but it's taking up a significant amount of space that can't be used for anything else now. So what do you tear it down and use that space for something else now?
I mean, well, no, and I think that's why you'll see a deal get done because also there's a large amount of money that has been devoted to this project. Again, you can see the pictures on the internet. The facility, it looks like the exterior of the facility is 60 to 70% done. Again, I don't know the interior of it. I don't know how far along the entire project is, but this isn't just the frame. I mean, this isn't just a couple poles in the ground and a little bit of cement poured. You look at it, Patrick, and I mean, there's a lot that has gone on with that facility already, a lot of money that has been spent on it. It's hard to say for certain how far. I mean, somebody knows, somebody out there knows, but I haven't seen an actual percentage of how much of it it's done. I would assume it's still, I think, a year and a half away. I think is what they were estimating. I think 2024, I believe, is when they were hoping for it to open, 2025 at the latest. And this was going to be a state of the art season-long training facility. Somebody hit us up earlier and said, well, they've already been training in Spartanburg. No, this is going to be the home of the Carolina Panthers with the stadium being in Charlotte. And the other part to this, Patrick, is that this is the first step toward building a brand new football, football stadium somewhere. I don't know if it'll be downtown Charlotte. For all we know, they could have been considering coming across the border into the Rock Hill area, or who knows what David Tepper really had planned to build a brand new facility.
Well, and also, I mean, the thing was supposed to be the one Carolina deal and bringing in the South Carolina market and making them feel like they're a part of the team, so it wouldn't just be Charlotte's team; it would truly be the Carolina team. And yeah, this is just a backwards issue. I mean, I'm reading the statement right now. It says City of Rock Hill became. This is from David Tepper's company. The City of Rock Hill became delinquent on their obligation to fund the public infrastructure. Despite our persistent efforts, the City of Rock Hill failed to issue the bonds or provide the funding for the infrastructure for the project. GTRE issued a default notice, and the city did not cure its default within the prescribed 30-day cure period. It's unfortunate that some recently decided to conduct a misguided, destructive public relations campaign to obscure their failures. I don't know, it's just ugly, and this is probably going to mean that they're not going to mess with South Carolina at all anymore.
I don't know.
I saw the governor put out a statement too. Like, this is probably going to mean the Panthers are just going to leave the state, right?
I don't know. Andrew sends us via the Twitter line. They literally build a new exit just for that facility. Lots of taxpayer dollars exit to nowhere. And yeah, again, the taxpayer dollars and the politics of everything a little beyond my comprehension, even with the reading I did last night. I do think it's interesting to see where the Panthers go from here. Do they just fully embrace Charlotte and go keep the whole thing up there? Now, again, to me, what I guess selfishly and maybe selfishly for some of y'all who the money is the taxpayer dollars and everything isn't quite as big a deal. This is David Tepper, I think's whole plan here is let's get a new facility to get a Super Bowl here. We need to build a whole brand new stadium. Bank of America Stadium is not a bad facility.
No,
it's not it's not.
It probably needs to be a dome if you want a Super Bowl.
In Charlotte, you think?
I think so. It's still going to get cold there.
That's true. I'm trying to think of. That's actually an interesting point.
Because that's a major part of the Washington deal too. They play in an open air stadium, FedEx Field, terrible. Whatever the next stadium is guaranteed to be a dome because they want Super Bowls in DC as well.
You've got me actually trying to think now as to the cold. I mean, I know what the coldest they played up in New York,
yeah,
and that was a specialty. We've seen them do.
They were lucky that it was only in the 50s that day. They got lucky that it was
I think it was the next day or the day after.
Snowed, yeah,
that they had the huge snow. I'm just trying to think. We've seen Indianapolis. We've seen Minneapolis. I think is Minneapolis hosted a Super Bowl or just Final Four?
Yeah.
I mean, Charlotte. The other part of that, the other part of it, and this is kind of just where my mind goes to. Charlotte has the infrastructure to be able to handle a Super Bowl. They also have the infrastructure. We've seen it before, and I believe it was the very last time that the Final Four was played in a basketball arena ever since '94 when Duke lost to Arkansas in the national championship game. I believe correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe every Final Four since '94 has been played in either a football dome facility. I think the next year was it was then the King Dome, which I believe has now been torn down out in Seattle. You've seen it back in Indianapolis. You've seen it in New Orleans. You've seen it in Houston at Reliant Stadium. You've seen it, at the Georgia Dome in years. So maybe you're right, because that's the other thing. You build a dome stadium for Charlotte with a retractable roof, I'm guessing, and what you end up doing is opening the door to not just a Super Bowl, but to, maybe even a college national championship game.
Yeah. They'll be in the mix for everything. Charlotte's a growing city, and all the championships right now are basically in Miami, Jacksonville, Tampa, the Florida teams, and then New Orleans, Dallas, Atlanta. And then you get Minneapolis will get one every once in a while. I don't know when the last time there was one. There probably was one recently, because they just built that stadium. They probably granted them a Super Bowl pretty early on. And then Arizona gets them all the time too.
803-404-6100. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Tracy wants to weigh in on the practice facility. Tracy, good morning. How you doing? What's on your mind?
Morning, guys. I sent a little shout out or prayer for Jen. Hopefully she get a triage to the orthopedics this morning.
I don't want to hear about it. Yeah, I've tried to stay away from her in case I catch a glimpse of what's going on. I don't handle that stuff well. So yeah, hopefully Jen survives.
Thank you, Tracy.
Right. Yeah, David Tepper, man. Right now, he's a great businessman. But this is political. He's making a political catastrophe if he doesn't get this thing done. I know he's a billionaire. They don't want to come too far out of pocket with monies, but a deal's going to get done, because down the line, like you're saying, he wants a new stadium. The Charlotte Pipe Foundry, which is right down the street from Bank of America Stadium, the property is open. You've got, I don't know the last time you've been to Charlotte, but they've done exponentially, I don't know how many brand new hotels within the last 3 to 4 years. And I'm not just talking about just any hotel. I'm talking about upscale hotels. You got the light rail line, which leads into the stadium. You've got everything there downtown for a brand new stadium. And I know Charlotte City Council and all that, they're looking at what's going on in Rock Hill, and he's got to make this deal done. He's got to make it better. He's got to work with the city. He may have to come out of pocket, but the deal is going to get done, because there's no way in the world. Right now, it looks like the big giant billionaire is screwing over, whether you like it or not. Rock Hill's a growing area, but it's little old Rock Hill, South Carolina. So you got not a David and Goliath thing, but he's got to make this thing work. He has to make it work, because no other, like you're saying with the city of Charlotte looking at that, like, if you're going to screw over Rock Hill and not give them what they need or whatever, how can we work with you in good faith on a much bigger project? Because a new stadium is going to cost, how much would you say, Patrick?
Like $3 to $5 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be in the billions.
So,
it's going to be in the billions. There's no questions about that.
Yeah. And as costs go up, it could, like that's right now. If you're looking at something 3 to 4 years down the road, possibly you may be doubling that. So he's going to have to make this work, whoever his team is, because you can't leave Rock Hill in the lurch, man. If you drive down 77, you can see where the facility was going to be at with the interchange between Dave Lyle and Cherry Road. It was going to be a huge project, and he's got to make this good for the development up there. But you guys have a good one.
You too, Tracy. Thank you for the phone call. I'll just throw this out there too, because you're right. Football, it will be the selling point. Hey, home of whatever the new stadium is, and that's the end point. That's the end game here for what's going on with Tepper and the Panthers and Rock Hill and everything. And Rock Hill may not be involved in the actual stadium purchasing, but I'll throw one other little nugget out there. You got football's end game. You could have college football national championships. You could have Final Fours. What else is coming in 4 years? Is it 4
Olympics?
No.
For the World Cup? I think it's too late for that. The cities are already narrowed
Oh,
down.
are they?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just gonna say, well, I
It's
mean,
actually a good thought.
well, because he's in. David Tepper's in on Charlotte FC. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it Charlotte FC? Okay, he's in on that. He appears to be a little bit of a soccer guy. I don't know what the necessary background is, but he appears to be in that. So just throwing that out there.
Well,
as-
Tracy sounds pretty confident that this is just posturing and
It
it's
could
going to
be.
get done in Rock Hill. I didn't know. I didn't feel that way just reading the statement that he was just trying to, force their hand. But that would be the best case scenario, is that this just gets done, because it would be devastating to just give up on this project as far as it is complete. I'm looking at the picture right now. I mean, maybe it's just the skeleton, because you can kind of see inside, but it's the size of a football field. There's clearly room for a football field inside that structure right there.
Yeah. 803-404-6100. A lot of good conversation on this. Appreciate all your input. When we come back, we'll catch up with Kyle Thompson, talk a little PGA Tour golf. We'll get into some more college football this hour. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. What was it this way? It was 40s. It was in the 40s when I left the house this morning. This afternoon, what, Jen's going to be in the 70s.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice.
Coming up
73.
tomorrow, it's going to be like in the 80s. That means your heating and air unit is getting a workout, and we don't think about that. I guarantee you, a lot of you take that heating and air unit for granted. You don't think about the workout that your heating and air unit is getting and some of the issues it could cause. You need to, and you need to call Roy and Dana Finley with AAA Heating and Air today. 803-677-1500. Don't start thinking about your heating and air unit when it goes out. Think about it ahead of time. Right now, you can get pre-summer maintenance for a new customer, just $49. You can get some maintenance on your heating and air unit. And trust me, again, it's kind of like a car. It's kind of like anything else in life. Don't wait until the problem happens. Get it rectified early on. Get it checked out. And with a heating and air unit, right now it's bouncing back and forth between you having to maybe cut the heat on at night and then the air conditioner on in the afternoon. That heating and air unit is getting a full workout, and you don't want something to pop up and break on you and then suffer for several days because you didn't take care of the situation early on. Right now, pre-summer maintenance, $49 when you call AAA Heating and Air, 803-677-1500. Trust me, I have already gotten in touch with Roy and Dana Finley, gotten a technician out to the house. They have taken care of me, and they'll do the same for you. If you're looking for a new unit, if you're in the market for a brand new heating and air unit, and the next 60 days you want to get that done, AAA Heating and Air, they'll make sure you get that brand new unit. If you're worried about your credit being shot and you're thinking, man, I can't get financing for that, AAA Heating and Air guarantees financing on a brand new system. You can call them 803-677-1500, or you can see the website for details. Right now, $1,500 buyback of your old unit. Then they'll work with you. No money down, 0% financing for those that qualify for that deal. And on top of that, a 15-year parts and labor warranty that's actually transferable if you want to sell that over to the next homeowner at your house. Whatever it may be, Roy and Dana Finley have got you taken care of. 803-677-1500. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
I would like to watch it. I'd like to see it happen. I wouldn't like to go, but a snow Super Bowl would be cool. Sorry, he's talking about hosting a Super Bowl, not winning the Super Bowl.
I mentioned numbing my finger, and Bill's freaking out. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
8:36 on a Wednesday morning, April the 20th. A lot of talk, obviously, about South Carolina football. We've done a good job of talking about some NFL topics today as it pertains to Deebo Samuel and the situation with the Carolina Panthers. Going to catch up with Kyle Thompson here in just a second and get some take on the PGA Tour. Kyle's been traveling a good bit lately, but he was down in Augusta just 2 weeks ago. Amazing that we're that far removed from the Masters. We wait for it all year, and it is already passed. This week, the boys head down to the Zurich Classic in New Orleans, but things start to lighten up a little bit for the next few weeks. Wells Fargo coming up, but that's been moved to is it Potomac at Avenel Farms, TPC Potomac,
Yeah.
Patrick? Okay, yep, TPC Potomac. It's not at Quail Hollow this year. Then the AT&T Byron Nelson and the PGA Championship coming up May 19th through the 22nd. So let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Our good buddy Kyle Thompson, who has been, again, traveling a good bit lately, but you've been around. You've been keeping an eye on things, and it's been an interesting back-to-back weeks, Kyle. Scotty Scheffler, the world's number one, claims his first green jacket, and last weekend a fantastic tournament. Absolutely fantastic down in Harbortown.
A couple of Texas boys playing some great golf. It's been great to see. I tell you, anytime Jordan Spieth wins, I feel like it's really good for the game. He is such a easy to root for guy, and really seems to be just have his head on his shoulders and just a solid human. Put it that way. He does everything in his power to impact the game in a positive way, and it is great to see him back in the winner's circle.
Let's go back to the Masters for a minute. You had a chance to get down there and see the course and kind of take everything in, and then you had a chance to watch the outcome of that. Your thoughts there on Scotty Scheffler really cruising to victory. It kind of became anticlimactic there the way the final day played out. But your take on Scotty really being able to dominate the course the way he did on Saturday and Sunday.
I'll tell you, he absolutely boat raced the field. I mean, he played so good, and really it's just come out of the blue. I mean, everybody knew he was a good player, but I mean, there's 50 guys like that every year that come up, and just to see what he's done in the last 6 months, really. It all started, I think, when he got the captain's pick to play in the Ryder Cup. Played great. I don't know if that was just the real confidence boost he needed, but he has been just on a tear. I think he's won 3 or 4 times this year now, and it's like every week he's in contention. This week out at the Zurich tournament, he's the favorite. He's playing Ryan Palmer, who's sort of an older guy. I think Ryan's a couple years older than me, and he's been doing it a long time. But honestly, you could pair Scotty Scheffler with either one of you guys, and he'd be the favorite this week at the Zurich. So he is on fire. It's pretty amazing to watch.
I want to ask about 2 of the more high-profile guys. You just talked about Jordan Spieth, and hopefully he's back to his winning ways. But what did you see change over the last couple of years? Obviously, he won those two majors in 2015 and a second place, and then the Open in 2017, and kind of went cold for a while. What would you attribute that to? And then the other high-profile player, Rory McIlroy, that Sunday was just absolutely ridiculous at the Masters. Why is he setting himself so far on Thursdays? Like what is he doing? Is it just mental, or what do you attribute that to?
Good questions. Let's start with the Spieth question first. So Jordan, when he was winning a lot, he was making putts from everywhere and holing out putt shots from bunkers and just doing some amazing stuff. And I think he just had sort of a cold streak with that. And then recently he's revamping his golf swing. I don't know if you've watched, but he's doing some very exaggerated practice moves as he's trying to get, I think, more on top of the ball and trying to feel like he's hitting fades, just kind of straightening the ball flights out a little bit. And so I think what you're seeing is his swing changes he's been making are finally coming around. But then also, he holed a lot of great shots last week. He was chipping in. He made some long putts. Obviously, if you saw it on Saturday, he missed a tap in to finish his round. He just got a little nonchalant over an 18-incher and missed one. So, he's human, and it's one of those things where you kind of have to just put it behind you and move on. But it's great to see him holing shots from all around the golf course. That's what he does when he's in contention. Now, as far as Rory McIlroy, when I was down at the Masters, I was on the back of the range talking to a Titleist rep who makes wedges for everybody, and he was chatting with Rory's dad, and I was sitting there talking with both of them, and Rory's dad wasn't overly optimistic that Rory's going to play great last week, and I think what's happening is that Rory's just putting a little too much pressure on himself early in tournament rounds. He knew that, as everybody in the world knew, if he could win the Masters, he would have the career Grand Slam, and I'm sure that's a big item on his bucket list. So I think once he sort of found himself slightly out of contention, he was able to free roll it and play some really good golf on Sunday and sort of take the pressure off. And unfortunately, it didn't happen earlier in the tournament, but he is so talented. There's no doubt in my mind that he will get a green jacket at some point in his career.
He's Kyle Thompson, joining us as he does each and every week to break down what's going on the PGA Tour. And as we kind of go into the little bit of a lull right now, we get geared up for the PGA Championship, and then we go into the summer and the U.S. Open and then the British Open. Give us 2 or 3 guys right now that you see that's playing well, but they haven't been able to close, or they haven't been able to finish, or they haven't gotten. Harold Varner is one of those guys who won over in, I believe, Dubai at the beginning of the year and has seemed to put himself in contention. You got 2 or 3 other guys that just can't seem to break through, but you think could be on the cusp of getting hot here as we go into the summer months.
I mentioned a couple weeks ago a couple guys, but Will Zalatoris, he's going to win at some point. He is just too good of a ball striker. He finished second in the Masters 2 years ago, two Masters ago. He's playing actually this week with Davis Riley in the team event down at the Zurich tournament. Davis and Will have been childhood friends since they were like 10 years old. And from what I was reading online, actually Davis just moved back in with Will in Dallas, Texas. So they're really good buddies. They're sort of my long shot pick for this week, but I really see Will winning at some point. I mentioned him a couple of weeks ago as well. Cameron Young, I thought he was going to have a good Masters. He played terrible. He's maybe finished like dead last, but he is extremely talented. As you maybe saw, he was leading down in Hilton Head for the first couple of rounds. Some of these guys like Cameron, he's still a young guy. He's only been out of college for a couple of years. It just takes being in the heat a few times. They're going to fall down a bunch, but at some point, a guy like that's going to break through, and you never know when he's going to stop winning. He's really, really good player. And the name I just mentioned playing with Will is a kid named Davis Riley. He played at Alabama, and he's a small guy, sort of like Will, and he hits the ball, 320, 330, just bombs it, absolutely kills it, and is extremely talented. So, maybe a week like this where they're playing in a team format and he has a little pressure off, but he might be able to just kind of rely on Will and play well, and hopefully for him, maybe get a win.
He's Kyle Thompson, joining us each and every week. And now it's time. Let's get our PGA Tour tip of the week and get your opinion on a big part of golf, and that is releasing your hips. I know that one of the big problems I have is rotation of hips. Let's get a PGA Tour professional to offer maybe a little advice and maybe even a drill people can do that works on turning your hips and getting them through the ball. What kind of advice have you picked up in your career? What would you offer all of us out there who are now starting to get back on the course as the weather turns? Maybe a drill or advice on how to get those hips rotated and be able to maybe add a few extra yards to your swing.
Well, if you're standing up, this would be the easiest way to describe it to anybody that's listening. If you stand up and if you're looking down and your toes are dead, parallel to each other, that restricts the hips. So when you're set up over the ball, you really want to have both toes flared out a little bit, which will allow you to have a better turn. And then another big key to hip release is to have the weight through your swing working through your ankles. If your weight goes into your toes through your swing, that will stop your hips from being able to turn because all your weight's going towards the ball. So a really key part of being able to pivot correctly is having your weight flow right between from your trail ankle to your front ankle. So if you're a right-handed golfer, as you pivot back, your weight goes into your right ankle, and as you come through, it stays in your left ankle instead of going out towards your toe. When your weight gets towards your toes, it prevents your hips from properly rotating. And so sort of the combination of having the weight transfer between the heels, between the ankles, like I was just mentioning, and making sure that your feet are not are sort of like splayed out like a duck. That's kind of how you want to have your feet so that you can properly turn and pivot. Hopefully that makes sense.
Are you big with on hip turn? Are you big with being able on Jen played the other day and I think hit a squirrel, which is impressive, by the way, Jen. We've talked about that. But are you big when you talk about that on stance? Obviously, a lot of different ways, and normally it comes down to what's most comfortable. But is it the width of your shoulders? Are you big on having a little bit wider base outside of your shoulders, or is it just as simple as whatever you feel is most comfortable?
You want to keep your stance, basically the width of your shoulders. With a driver a little bit wider, and with a wedge when you're hitting a less than full shot, obviously you want to keep that a little bit more narrow. And so, one of the big problems that I see with amateurs is just they really don't get lined up properly. So you want your stance to be parallel with wherever you're trying to hit the ball. So like if you lay down a club pointing from the ball to the target, you want your stance to match that. You want your toes to, really it's more the back of the heels to match it. If you laid another club on the back of the heels, you want that to match wherever your club's aiming. Now, a lot of times I see amateurs get really, really open, and that causes them to swing across the ball, which creates a lot of that big slice that most amateurs fight. So really keep an eye on that when you're out practicing, or even when you're sitting in your office and you're just sort of making some mimic swings, make sure your alignment's correct.
He's Kyle Thompson, joins us each and every week to break down not only the PGA Tour, but we're going to start getting the tips from the pro there, as he will be able to give you some advice. If you've got a question, you can send it in each week, and we'll ask him. Next week, we'll get some bunker advice. Jordan Spieth winning the Heritage with a great bunker shot on Sunday. So we'll ask you a little about some bunker shots next week. And again, if anybody wants to ask a question, we'll get tips from the pro, the PGA Tour professional, Kyle Thompson. Kyle, man, have a great week. We look forward to catching up with you next week.
You got it. Hope you guys have a great week yourselves.
You too.
Go Cox.
Take care. Yeah, Kyle Thompson. I would need to get his opinion. We didn't have enough time to get his opinion on the spring game as well, but we'll do that next week. We'll come back and we'll wrap up the Wednesday morning edition. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game. One of the keys to a good golf swing, as Kyle Thompson just gave you some tips there, is feeling good, not having joint pain, not having back pain, problems with your knees or your hips. You want to feel good. And with QC Kinetics, that is precisely what you can get. If you've been suffering and had some issues, now's the time to call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. 803-281-6860. You've probably heard Emmitt Smith raving about QC Kinetics. You've probably seen other high-profile people talking about it, including yours truly. I'm telling you what, the joint pain that you could be experiencing, the problems that you could be having, QC Kinetics is here to fix it with their regenerative medicine and natural biologic treatments. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. Call today. Get this powerful, effective joint pain treatment with QC Kinetics. Again, that free consultation. 803-281-6860. Don't suffer with another summer of joint pain, with hip pain, with back pain. Call QC Kinetics today. 803-281-6860. 803-404-6100 if you want to jump in here in the final minute or two. Big thank you to Kyle Thompson for joining us this morning. We will continue to get the golf tips from the pro each and every week as Kyle brings his own knowledge and always is so knowledgeable about what's going on the PGA Tour and offers so many different great pieces of information as how he sees it and has his own picks each and every week. So, Patrick, a lot covered this morning. Deebo Samuel certainly in the news. We'll continue to monitor that situation. We kind of continue to wrap up spring football and head toward the summer. Baseball tonight, Winthrop. You and I were talking about it off air. We didn't talk much baseball today, but it's a must win. Basically, every midweek game moving forward. South Carolina, Tommy Moody yesterday on the afternoon show, 34% of games South Carolina has played this year. 34% of games have come against teams that have been ranked number one in the country at some point or other this season. Crazy stat. Strength of schedule is going to pay off.
Tonight is not one of those games, though.
No, it's not. And you have to win it.
Got to win it.
And quite frankly, then you
got to win the next two series as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a long shot. The margin for error is razor thin, but it starts tonight as South Carolina travels up to Winthrop. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. Tomorrow, Carrie Tharp joins us. We continue our investigation into Reggie Anderson.
Oh, whatever.
I continue my investigation into Reggie Anderson, and right now, prime suspect number one is looking at me through the producing glass.
Hey, look at my finger.
Yeah, exactly. Normally, that would mean the middle finger. That was actually the pinky. Patrick, draft talk one week from tomorrow. Oh, boy.
We'll see y'all later.
Anthony,
You all be-
Jerry, Larry, Chad.
We'll see.